Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call the regular city council meeting of February 18th, 2026 to order. Ms. Cassandra.
Mayor David Romero,
Here.
Councilor Marvin Martinez, Councilor Barbara Casey,
Here.
Councilor Benito Pacheco,
Present.
Councilor David Ulivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Ms. Cassandra, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Pacheco, will you lead us in a moment of silence?
Just have a moment of silence for all those, all people in our world, their private intentions, everyone that's here.
Any other words?
Thank you.
Councilors? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, approval of the agenda. I have a recommendation to remove presentation by Pete Rock Alina, who was unable to make it this evening. And then we have another recommendation from our city manager. I'll turn it over to him.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I requested that we move the executive session where we were going to talk specifically about water. We have some additional research that we have to do with the state engineer's office before I bring that back to you. So I'm requesting we move that item that was specifically just for that discussion.
And again, that was just for the water, right?
That's correct.
Executive session. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, so with those recommendations, is there any other recommendations?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to see if we could move business item number 1 over to just before the consent agenda, along with the other changes that were requested.
With those changes, is that your motion?
That's my motion.
I second.
A motion by Councilor Martinez, second by Councilor Pacheco.
May I ask a question?
Discussion.
Okay, on the executive session, that also is the whole thing, not just water rights acquisition? Is that what you?
Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Casey, the only thing we were going to discuss was only water.
Yeah, I
So,
know, but it says discussion on property and water rights.
oh, correct.
So it's everything that's going to be postponed until we get more information.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Councilor Ulivari. Councilor Martinez.
Yes.
Councilor Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Martinez, a second by Councilor Pacheco. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to our next item is public input. We have one person signed up for public input, Ms. Corina Laszlo Henry, speaking on the consent agenda.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, I want to thank Councilor Martinez for moving the public hearing part up in the agenda. I think that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that.
You don't mind speaking into the mic for,
Will do. I came here for the public hearing, but I did notice a couple of things on the consent agenda that I just wanted to bring up, and those are items 7, 8, and 9 on the consent agenda. Those are extensions of contracts. For leases of real property. And the New Mexico Administrative Code, Title 1.5.23.10 does require DFA approval for over 5 years or more. Leases of real property by municipalities, and it does require a determination of fair market value. I have nothing against those lessees or the terms or anything of that sort, but because they do seem to go into the future up to 2058, I don't think we can, you can set what fair market value is going to be in 2058. Looks like those original leases were entered into without it coming before the governing body, maybe, and they look very perpetual in nature, that the city of Las Vegas would have no grounds or no rights to terminate short of a breach, and that it could be perpetually extended. I don't know why those, we're 5 years in, and we're already extending for a second extension period on all three of those leases. So I just had some questions that I would urge this body to refer back to your city attorney and get your questions answered and see if there's any other things that need to be looked at there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to our mayor's appointments, reports, recognitions, and proclamations.
I'll forego, I think I gave a report last week, and I just know, based off of time that we have and probably the.
Thank you,
public
Mr. Mayor.
hearing. Thank you.
Moving on to our councilors' reports.
Counselors? Counselor Casey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to give a special thanks to David Marquez and his staff for doing an excellent job and a very difficult job of picking up trash and bins that have been tossed all over creation by the awful winds that we have had. And they did an amazing job of picking up extraneous trash that was on the streets and getting everything cleaned up so nicely. And I just want to say thank you for the wonderful job that you and your team have done. And so appreciate it greatly. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Olivari?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, thank you, Mr. Manager. The whole west side's looking good. Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4, it doesn't matter. But Ward 1, we've been working on some of the areas that are being neglected. And there's cars all over. There's still cars all over the place. But your staff is doing a great job picking up, well, somebody's picking up trash and stuff that they're leaving on the right of way. I just want to thank the staff and you guys for the good work that you guys are doing. And we just got to keep on looking at that little by little and making this beautiful town a little more brighter. Thank you.
Councilman Martinez?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to mention, I went to a meeting last night in reference to the Grand Avenue Alignment Study, and that study refers to from Grand Avenue, from like where the Dairy Queen is at on Columbia Street, and it goes north, and I think that project ends just right kind of close to City Hall here. And the study, what it does is, they want feedback, the state of New Mexico wants feedback in reference to how they can improve those areas, the intersection, of course, ADA compliant sidewalks, the egress and so forth for the Grand Avenue piece that they're gonna be working on. And it's interesting, but I do have a little bit of information. I don't have a whole lot of it, but for those that are interested, you can, maybe I could give this over to Sandra and you can maybe provide any individual with copies or something. But it's for feedback, and that's what I'm trying to, I showed up, there was a few people that showed up, so not too many people go to these things, but what happens is usually after the fact, people are complaining because something didn't come in, it doesn't look right. So I just want to bring it out to the general public that it's a very interesting alignment study. So if you have any concerns of that piece of Grand Avenue, please do reach out to the state of New Mexico. And I think Travis Martinez is the guy that you would want to talk to. So if you have any other questions, you can at least call them. So I do appreciate just being there and being able to get that information for those that are interested. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Pacheco?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as I mentioned at our last meeting, I was sending out some text that were going out to residents of Ward 2. Based off that information, there was three top items that came back as the concerns that had the most consensus. So one is water. Obviously, I think that's a consensus across the entire city, and we're taking steps to improve that. Thank you for the information that's been released to the media and the new water treatment plant, and I think that puts our community at ease, knowing that we're moving in the right direction. The second item that I received feedback on was, believe it or not, speed bumps in roads. And it's something I've talked about. I'd just like to see a bit more consistency with how we do that, how we, what the dimensions are for those types of things, right? And also take into consideration the law enforcement and the time that it takes for them to go over these types of barriers in emergency situations, as well as our public good and the flow of traffic. Flow of traffic was one of the larger concerns. And I know we're working at ways to try and improve that through public safety, our police department, and other avenues that the council's exploring. The third item that came up was graffiti. And again, I tend to notice more and more graffiti now that I'm on the council. Probably I just was blind to it in the past. But graffiti is an ongoing issue, not just in Las Vegas, but across the country, really, in different cities. What's interesting about us is that we do have an ordinance, and this is just as a reminder to everyone. And it's not a negative, and it's just something that I've discovered as I've been doing research that identifies what we should be doing as a city to combat graffiti. Now, there are many properties within the city that are out of compliance with that ordinance. But I must say that we, as a city government and city staff, are out of compliance with our own ordinance. So I think step one is we figure out, is that the proper ordinance? And if it is, let's make sure that we're following our ordinance as government and city officials, so we can start combating this problem in a constructive way. Really, that's all I have. I think we've been up to Santa Fe a couple of times, portions of the council. We've received recognition in the House, as well as our directors being there. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for organizing that. That was a great event. And I appreciate all of our staff, all of our audience here tonight, and that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, moving on to our finance report, we have our finance director, Mr. Morris Madrid.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I get into the numbers portion of the finance report, I'd like to give you all an update on a couple of things, our mid-year budget review, and then the process for our fiscal year 27 budget preparation. For the last couple of weeks, I've worked on where we stood as of December 31st, middle of the year, revenues and expenditures for the general fund and some of the enterprise funds. We also have many special revenue funds that are dedicated for a particular purpose. For example, capital outlay appropriations, our street improvement fund, our lodgers tax fund, those types of funds that are individual in nature and for a special purpose. So I prepared all of those. Today I had our first meeting with Arnold Lopez, one of our directors, because he's got several different funds, just to verify what I found and what I projected.
So in some cases, there may be things that I projected that will not be spent, some that I may have not anticipated. So we'll go through this final round of meeting and adjustment, and based upon that, I'll do an estimate of overall savings, and in the general fund, there will be savings to the extent, I'm not sure yet, but from there, I'll meet with our city manager, and then we'll come up with, if it's needed or necessary, a recommendation to the governing body on a budget adjustment, much like we did last year. The savings will not be as much, and that's a good thing for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is this governing body increased compensation for employees across the board in all departments at all levels. That's progress. The other thing is, the way that the budget was prepared last year, our budget is coming in closer to our projections, closer to the plans of each department head. For years before that, we were just doing what we did the year before and carrying those numbers forward, and we were over budgeting money. And we're getting closer to realistic numbers this year. Next year will be the same thing. In regard to next year's budget, and in talking with the city manager, we'd like to align that process so that it is kind of congruent with the process of the governing body building its priorities also, so that they can be considered and funded. So that timeline will be determined by our city manager, but the priorities of the council should be included in our budget request prior to you all seeing it. We shouldn't bring you a budget that we've prepared without considering any of your priorities, and that's going to change this year. So that's how we'll approach it. We're setting the timelines so that we give ourselves enough time to have the budget prepared and submitted to DFA by the May 31st deadline. Our manager has participated in a new process that we did last year, where we sit around the table in the finance department, we put up the proposed budgets on the screen, and we go line by line in justifying the budget request, so that we're all familiar with the budget request, and it needs to pass a reasonable and necessary test. And it doesn't matter what was done the year before. This is what we're going to base our request on, and that's what we'll present to you all. So that's the update on those two things. In regard to the revenue and expenditure report itself, I want to point out a few anomalies. In our general fund revenues, there's one type of gross receipts tax, 0.25%, that is lower than last year. That I need to verify is a timing or posting in the general ledger issue, not a drop in revenues, because as you notice everywhere else, our gross receipts are still increasing very healthily. On the expenditure side, you'll notice in the general services department how, as compared to last year, our actual expenditures are significantly higher. And that's not because they're necessarily higher this year. Last year, they were lower because there was two reasons. We didn't have as much activity in the projects within the 4 wards based upon the councilors' priorities. And we also had not paid our invoice to the county for ambulance service. That came in a big chunk later in the year. So that is right in line. You'll see that even with our prepayment of insurance, we're at 60% with 58% of the year gone by. So that is right in line, but that's the reason for the difference. If you go to the enterprise funds, as we talked about before, natural gas is coming back into line. We had the cold spell. The revenues are starting to rise there. The water and wastewater funds are a little bit behind, but they are improving. I think I'll need to take a look at, in concert with the new staff that's part of finance now in customer service, the timing on billing and payment, and what do those look like from our smallest to our largest customer. That type of analysis still needs to be done. And we also need to do a review of not just billing and dollars, but consumption and all the other factors that affect our revenues. But in general, we are on track. If there are any red flags, they would show up probably around March. But we do have the rest of our cold season to go through and some of our warm season, and I'm referring to gas and water and wastewater. So there's nothing out of the ordinary there. In a recreation department, our program and activity revenues are actually up. If you notice in the wellness center, our actual revenues are up. In the YABO program, they're a little bit lower, but the program hasn't completed yet. So there's still a lot more registration and activity to go in there. We expect those to catch up. The thing that kind of distorts the picture is the amount that we've budgeted for the roof. That hasn't been expended yet, and that's both on the revenue and the expenditure side. In the lodger's tax fund, during late fall, these revenues were lagging. They have caught up again and are exceeding last year's actuals. You'll notice an anomaly in the capital outlay line this year compared to last year. The lodger's tax is contributing a lot to, I think these are maybe our Christmas decorations or electrical upgrades, and that's going to continue. Later on, we have an item for a budget adjustment in lodger's tax. I'll give you a heads up right now that that is based upon second half activities that have been projected and agreed upon by the lodger's tax board and the staff. The approach that was taken when the budget was prepared last year was we budgeted for everything that we knew was going to happen up through the first half, and we were expecting to make a budget adjustment now in the middle of the year. So I'll explain that a little bit more when we get to that item. In the cannabis fund, we don't have any unusual activity. The revenues and expenditures are at our expected level. On the expense side of the cannabis, as I said before, a lot of the equipment that was authorized by the governing body late last fiscal year came in this fiscal year and was paid for in this fiscal year. So that is exactly the way it should look. We have some good news in the opioid fund. We did get an infusion of a couple of payments that we hadn't anticipated for about $238,000. So those resources are budgetable, and that would be another item for discussion at the retreat with the governing body and the city manager. So we have additional resources available there. In our FEMA account, we have little or no activity, I think, since last month. And we don't expect a lot more. I think the activity from now on will be related to the water plant construction, which is being handled by the state. Our last report is our cash and investment report. And we don't have any changes there really as of the end of January. The yield has been dropping a little bit in the LGIP with the state treasurer, and it's been coming up with our local banks. So you may see some transfer of funds there in next month's report to maximize our earnings. And the other advantage is in our local banks, these investments are insured 100%. So those are the highlight of the finance report. I stand for any questions.
Mr. Madrid, I just had one, and I know this is going to be coming up, especially with the information that came out to the public with the water treatment plant. Moving forward, I know, our intergovernmental agreement specifically states we're billed by the New Mexico Environment Department, but maybe in our future reports, as we go month by month, we could start letting in the report how much we paid to the New Mexico Environment Department, so that way we're being transparent with the community. Would that be fair to ask in that
Yeah,
report?
we can all get together with our city manager and we'll do a simple format with full information, and then we can modify as we go. But yes, that's absolutely possible.
And maybe even in the interim, I know, I've had an opportunity to sit in a couple meetings, but I think even for the governing body to understand, how much we paid, where we're at, for their information.
Sure.
Maybe here within the next week to get them the most updated that we have. That's fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can also go over the process that we use between us.
Okay.
And those mechanics, I think that's important too.
Yeah, because I think as more progress is happening there, I'm sure we're going to start getting questions, how much have you guys paid, stuff like that. So just so the counselors have that information with them.
Right.
Thank you. Counselor Casey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a question, but I have a request.
Yes, ma'am.
When I was back on the council in 2022, I had requested that we receive a copy of the checks that have been paid out for the month. And I was getting those, but I'm not getting them anymore. And those really help us see what's the kind of money that's going out, who it's going out to, and how often those people are getting paid. And I would appreciate getting those again. They were always emailed to me, and I would request that that be done again every month.
What we do for the finance committee, Counselor, and I think this would fulfill your request, is we generate an accounts payable listing of all the checks that have been actually paid, check numbers, vendors, and a description of what they paid for. And they're by check number, but it has all the vendor names. You can tell which department spent it, that kind of thing. We'll start with that and then.
That's what I was getting before.
Okay.
So I would appreciate it if I could get it
We
again.
already generate that. We'll include you
Okay.
in the email.
Great, thank you so much.
Mr. Madrid, on that also, is that also the vendor report list? Because I know we could get individual checks, but the vendor report specifically states how much this vendor for this month. Is that
That's
possible?
a separate report that we don't normally generate, but is easy to generate upon request. So feel free to contact anyone in the finance department, and we can take care of that if you have any
And I
special
guess
requests
just
like
adding
that.
to what Councilor Casey is saying, I don't know, if that's a routine report, that the governing body would like to see, just get with me, and then we'll make sure that as we go, me and the city manager will work together on that. Mr. Manager, I don't know, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, and maybe this can be a topic under the retreat discussion, but I'm very familiar with sunshine portals in organizations that I've worked at. So that might be something that we can integrate where we have the information posted on the web relative to the financial transactions of the city. So I'll defer to you, Mayor, and the council, but I'm keenly aware and familiar with that type of information and being as transparent as possible for the public.
Mr. Pacheco?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say I agree in philosophically with what's being asked. I think it'll allow us to have a better grasp of what's actually being spent. Because in my short time here, which is, I think this is my fourth meeting, feels like I've already been here 4 years. No, I'm just kidding. We've approved a number of contracts. And I feel more comfortable having a way to gauge those contracts as we move through the fiscal year or the calendar year, whatever it is that we approve them on, to better manage to better be aware. I'm not here to manage the finances, but to better be aware of the finances and the state of those finances for the city and the community.
Public record.
Councilors, any other
Thank you, sir.
questions for Mr. Madrid? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, moving on to our next item, our police chief's report. We have our police chief, Mr. Caleb Marcus.
Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Manager. Get set up real quick and we could begin. So this is going to be the report for the month of January. If I could get it. There we go. So our Field Operations Division issued 287 traffic citations, 2 non-traffic citations, 80 parking citations, generated 45 arrests, 76 animal control citations were issued. We had 2 burglaries with the total calls for service for our field operations of 1,537 calls for the month. If you notice, the animal control citations are up there. We've been running operations in the evening time with our animal control officers and CSAs to target certain areas where we have large packs of dogs that are roaming in neighborhoods, and it's had a good effect so far. Good turnaround, so it's something we're going to continue to work on, especially in problem areas. Our communication division, they answered a total calls for service of 1,729 calls, 1,537 for police, 207 for fire department, 179 for ambulance, 96 for animal control, city services 35, and a total of 697 911 calls. Our beginning shelter count with our animal care center was 41 dogs, 23 cats for a total of 64. We had our beginning shelter. Our intake from the public was 42 dogs, 10 cats for a total of 53. We had 7 adoptions of cats, 7 of dogs, 3 of cats for a total of 10. Outgoing transfers to outside organizations and coalitions were 16 dogs, 6 cats for a total of 22. We had 7 returned to their owner for dogs, and then we had cats and dogs euthanized was 3 dogs that were healthy, no cats, unhealthy and untreatable 1 dog, 2 cats for a total of 3. And our ending shelter count was at 50 dogs, 22 cats for a total of 72. We are at capacity again. I know that we were able last month to move out 53 dogs in a week, and we're thankful for the help, but we have an ongoing issue that we're continuing to work on, so we're up there in our numbers again. So we encourage fosters or adoptions, whatever we could get into the community or transfers out.
Before we move on specific to this, on the intakes from the public, can you give us more detail of what specific intake from public means?
So intakes from public could be our animal control, actually bringing them in, county animal control. Sometimes puppies end up dumped outside the shelter. People will come and drop a dog. We've had people tie up dogs and drive off. So those are our intakes from the public. We kind of generalize it so we don't have so many different drop-down boxes for that. Our information division closed out 174 offense incident reports, 22 traffic reports were closed out, entered 445 citations, attended to 153 customers, documents scanned was 365, and completed 22 IPRAs. Our street crimes division had 73 cases assigned, 21 self-initiated, made 12 arrests, executed 6 search warrants, closed out 19 cases. Our evidence seized by our investigation division was 4.8 grams of methamphetamine, 0.7 grams of crack cocaine, 7 fentanyl pills, 186 other fentanyl pills, 1 firearm, 1 gram of heroin, and 3.5 Suboxone strips. Evidence entered into our evidence division was 77 cases, 169 total items property turned in, released 5 items of property back to the public, which were not narcotics but belongings to them. Patrol seized 2 firearms, 4 grams of meth, 1 Suboxone strip, 42 fentanyl pills, 20 grams of crack cocaine, 1 gram of heroin, 1 gram of methadone. We also sent 21 cases to the labs, completed 13 IPRA requests with digital files documented and redacted of 649. So we had some informational travels. We have our travels for the month of January consisted of windshield repairs. We've had a lot of broken windshields on our units. We're trying to get those all completed. It is a 3-quote process that we're running through, and the cheapest bid is out of Santa Fe, so we're having to transport our units back and forth. Our animal control officers also transported animals to the veterinary hospital several times this month. Our new recruits are attending their mandatory fitness assessment last month for basic police officer training, class number 211. And our new recruits also began the academy on the 29th and have been attending and traveling back and forth to Santa Fe. And they will continue until around May. Lieutenant David Barella was subpoenaed for that trial in Eagle River, Wisconsin, which he attended January 19th through the 22nd. Our office manager, Raylene, and administrative aide Shanice attended a procurement code overview. 4 police officers participated in FBI LEADA command leadership training in Santa Fe. And we also had our officers attending our Skydio training for our drone program. We are pretty close to getting a full launch on that program here soon, hopefully. We'll have 6 new pilots in the police department. We'll have 5 new drones that we could utilize to assist with our operations or other city functions. Our active recruitment, we're still continuing. We have 4 police officers, applicants for police officers, sorry about that. 1 certified, 3 uncertified. We have 9 applicants, with 1 part-time for communications. We are actually full at this time, besides our part-time positions. Morris is gonna help me open up another full-time hopefully here soon.
Yes, sir.
Our animal control, we did have 3 applicants. That's gonna be a positive because we just lost one. He joined the military. Good luck to him, Mr. Joshua Vigil, but he's out at basic training right now. 1 police officer attempted the physical fitness assessment 2 weeks ago, but was unsuccessful, and he's gonna reschedule. We had a communication specialist job interview recommended for hire. That's the one I was just speaking about. And majority of the applicants on our current list have ceased communication with the recruiting department, and these applications will remain active for 6 months if they are interested. These are our vacancies. Once again, pretty much the same as the last couple months. Numbers are back and forth. We're hiring, we'll lose 1, we hire. So it's kind of back and forth. So hopefully we're seeing a trend across the city where all the hiring is going back up. Hopefully we get that trend back at the police department. We also attended a DOT meeting last Wednesday with DOT engineers as well as Commissioner Walter Adams to discuss some of the issues on Grand Avenue for when it comes to speed and crashes. DOT is going to be bringing in their own independent third-party company that's going to be working on a study. They're going to work on certain portions of Grand Avenue to identify what could assist with that, whether it's breaking the long-distance travel, some of the confusing exchanges at the intersections, and see what we could do to better that area. And we also attended I attended last night as well for the DOT meeting for the new road work that's going to be done from Dairy Queen to City Hall. So there's a lot of moving parts there. We also established very good communication, and we're going to continue monthly meetings or every other month, I believe, with Lucas and Arnold. We're going to get everybody in there. I know Captain Atencio attended, so it'll be good moving forward with the DOT, and hopefully we get some of these problems figured out. And then also just the Santa Fe travel. So, and that concludes my report.
Mr. Manager, Chief, what are we doing with unwanted vehicles that are parked on the city right-of-ways all over the city? Are we taking care of that, or what are we doing with them?
Yes, sir. So we are working still with code enforcement. Like you said in the beginning of the meeting, there is a difference happening. It does take time, but we are getting some of these accomplished. I know we've had certain issues around town, and some of these tow companies have really stepped up and helped us, and we've gotten some problem vehicles out of areas, and we're looking forward to keep on moving forward with that process as well.
The thing is that we have an ordinance that any vehicle that's not running or it's not drove or anything, they park it on the either city right-of-ways or they park it on the premises. They're not being moved, they're not doing nothing with it, and I know that code enforcement's working on it, but I think that we need to take a look at the whole city.
Yes,
I think you guys can do that, thank you.
Councilors?
I have a question. Thank you, Mayor. Chief, thank you for the report. I was just kind of digesting the numbers here, and I see that there were 595 911 calls in the month. That's 20 per day. So how many units do we have on the street for any particular shift?
So it just depends on the shift, especially now that we have guys in the recruits in the academy. We have 4 officers, sometimes we'll have 3. Once these recruits are back out, some of our crews should be back up to 5 and 4, which is great numbers compared to several years ago when we were down to 3. A lot of these calls, though, doesn't constitute an officer going. Sometimes we'll have, especially in the summer, you'll see those calls skyrocket Well, we have kids at home that are playing with cell phones that aren't connected. They think that they could dial 911. They call. We will call back if we could speak to somebody. If not, then we will send an officer for a welfare check. But it is a high number, but it does go up, especially when school's out of session.
And then, so the other question I had is I see there was 1537 calls to the police department, calls for service. Is that in addition to the 595 or is that incorporated in the 595?
No, so it's included as far as the 1,700 calls.
So you still
it's
have
total
about
total
an
calls
extra-
for service was 1,729, and then the 1,537 is a portion of that 1,729 calls, a breakdown.
Okay. But that 1537 includes the 911 calls.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you have about 1,000 other calls that are 911 related.
That's
more or less.
correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I see this as, again, I commend the job that you're doing and the information that you provide to us. But it is very concerning that, that we have so many vacancies. And I know that's not your fault either. I know it's a tough market to hire people. But if there's anything from your perspective that you think we as a council, we as a community can do to help get some more officers, figure out some other strategies, because obviously at the end of the day, public safety is a big issue here in Las Vegas, New Mexico. You and I have discussed this. Our crime rate is 40% above the national average. Many people don't realize that, but that is the reality. I think as aggressive as well as proactive as we can be in minimizing some of this and properly staffing you will help lead to the betterment of the community.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Martinez.
I guess I'd like to add a little bit to that, but in what's been mentioned, I guess has been mentioned prior by even the mayor. And I know we have some speed control cameras and so forth that I think we were lacking software or something to be able to assist our city police department with traffic citations, especially speeding. And that's still, you know, it's alarming to hear people across our community that, you know, basically say that there's a lot of speeding going on. And there is. I mean, we just need to control it better and do a better job with it. But I still want to see us get to a point where we can have that software available to those speed cameras so that we can, you know, and do better enforcement in those areas that we need, definitely. So, because nowadays it seems like everywhere's a drag, you know, it's a drag strip everywhere and we need to control that, so. But anyway, if you can look into that and see what we can, how we can better get equipped for that process.
Yes, sir. And to that, I was hoping that today we would have the contract ready for those speed cameras. We did have a few errors within the contract that we sent back for corrections. There was other counties and cities mentioned portions of the contract, and there was some wording that was missing. We sent it back. I was hoping to get it back by last Friday to get it on this agenda to actually post those cameras in town. But hopefully within this next month's council meetings, we will have that contract up for presentation.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate you working on that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. And if you don't mind, I know one of the big concern, and I'm just going to say it the way it is, drugs within the community, and I know you've really worked, you and the manager have worked on a relationship specifically more with the county and with the DA's office, and I know there's been some news on some bigger busts, I guess we could say. Could you just talk into the, you know, the building of relationships? I know me personally, I know the Region 4, we could, you know, it's not fully there by all the players that were there at one time. I did reach out to Mayor Chatterley of Raton. I know they were part of it at Region 4, so working on that. But can you talk more to what you're doing within the 3 partners that we have right now?
Yes, sir. So in the interim, what we're doing is we have a San Miguel County Drug Task Force is what we're working. With that, each one of us has dedicated full-time manpower to this task force. We have been running operations, doing our undercover buys, utilizing all of our equipment as a joint effort with the San Miguel County Sheriff's Office and District 4 DA's office with Tom Clayton, who are dedicated agents as well. So we have operations that are constantly and ongoing at this time. We did, last council meeting, run an operation with them where we successfully hit a drug house and were able to charge for drug trafficking out of there. We're looking forward to having more busts, especially with the money from our opiate funds that we received. There's some training, some equipment options, and we've also, purchased some equipment to assist us with these, but there's other things that we're gonna be moving forward on, especially with confidential funds to assist us in the fight against drugs within our community.
And I just want to add to that is, I know counselors, we come to the meetings and sometimes we feel that maybe enough isn't being done, but I think it's important that, we do say the things that are happening, the concerns that you're bringing, the notes are being taken and these individuals are doing that. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, Council Chief, I just wanted to note the meeting with DOT that we had recently was directly as a result of mayor and council requests. We're setting up structured meetings. We're going to break it up because there's absolute ongoing work that staff does within respective departments, Mr. Lopez, Chief, Community Development, and others. But then we want to have quarterly meetings where we have invitations to mayor and council to be part of the discussions. Commissioner Garcia was present at the discussion based on the invitation from Chairman Adams. But we're going to have structured invitations for mayor and council to participate in those quarterly discussions as we talk about roads and other pertinent areas that work directly with NMDOT. So I want to extend an open invitation to mayor and council to also let me know those key priority areas that you have. A lot of the interest that's come relative to meetings has come from council coming to me, expressing specific interest in a specific area, and then we're able to make sure that the council's invited to those specific areas of interest that each of you may have or want to follow up on. So it's both ways. It's you telling me exactly what specific areas you want interested, and then it's us giving you dates and times of other meetings that we're setting up as structured, ongoing meetings between DOT and other entities that we work with as a municipality. That's all I wanted to add, Mr. Mayor.
I could just add to the last portion of that, especially with that upcoming road project, there is some significant changes that Councilor Martinez could probably get more in depth on, that we saw last night, to include a roundabout at Grand and Mills, if that's one of the options. Also widening the roadways, taking away the shoulder parking. So there's significant changes that would be happening to that section of roadway that I think the input from the citizens and council is gonna be huge and important on that, especially, I know we talked about the roundabout options. There's 3 options that are going forward and the roundabout's one of them. So it's something that's a significant change to the community, so.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to our next item is our presentations, not to exceed 10 to 15 minutes. Our first presentation is by Nicole Urrutia. She's our interim director of the San Miguel Early Childhood Coalition. She's speaking on their mission and strategic plan and propose a formal partnership with the coalition, and also speaking on outdoor spaces around the city. We're going to need you to.
Welcome.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for giving me some time to speak tonight. My name is Nicole. I'm the interim coordinator of the San Miguel County Early Childhood Coalition. And I will be talking to you tonight a little bit to introduce myself, to introduce the coalition, our mission, our vision, to introduce you to some data for Data Informed Futures Project, and to continue to strengthen our partnership with the City of Las Vegas. And then lastly, to have a brief discussion on the Gallinas River Park. Today, my daughter Mina is joining me, my husband Reyes, my parents, and my infant Emma, who had to step out. Mina, how old are you?
4
Come, Hita.
And when's your birthday?
in September.
In September. By that time, 80% of Mina's brain development will be complete. After that, it's just trimming and pruning of neuronal connections until adulthood. This is what makes my passion for early childhood population so intense, because by the time Mina was conceived to now, her trajectory is set. And that's where the coalition comes in. The coalition has a mission for early childhood. We envision a resilient community that builds on cultural and historical strengths through investment in families and promoting equitable, diverse, healthy, safe, and empowering environments for our children. Our mission is to promote access to high-quality, culturally responsive care and education for families of children 0 to 5. We expand and align existing services to enhance early childhood education, infant and toddler mental health, social and emotional well-being, healthy growth and development, family engagement and empowerment, community resources, and supporting early childhood professionals. Some of our work you may be familiar with is accompanying the city at Fridays Al Fresco, our monthly Noches de Familia, our monthly leadership and general coalition meetings where we highlight local resources. And pictured here is one of our car seat clinics where we distribute car seats to community members, no questions asked. Excuse me. A lot of our work so far has been informed by a community needs assessment that was completed in 2022. But what I'm really looking forward to is our work yet to be done. We have a $100,000 grant from the New Mexico Early Childhood and Education Department. This department funds our coalition, but they're working really hard on advancing early childhood throughout the entire state. They partnered with the University of California, Los Angeles, to complete a project called Data Informed Futures. And this project is informed by one of these instruments called the Early Development Instrument. And I'm sorry, there's a typo. It says index, but it's instrument. This is a tool, a validated tool, that is completed by kindergarten teachers. And it measures early childhood development and school readiness across 5 different domains. They observe behaviors of the kids in their classroom related to physical health and well-being. And an example could be like sustaining energy throughout the day. Emotional maturity, an example would be paying attention to directions. Social competence, such as following rules and instructions. Language and cognitive development, which includes attaching sounds to some letters. And communication skills and general knowledge. For example, taking part in imaginative play. There's many behaviors and subcategories to this instrument. Kiddos are scored, and their performance is plotted on a curve, and their performance is compared on percentiles. Those who perform within the 25th to 100th percentile are on track. They're doing well. Those who perform within the 10th to 25th percentile are at risk. They need to be followed really closely in their development. May need some intervention. Those in the 0 to 10th percentile are called vulnerable. They are vulnerable to adverse outcomes now and later in life, and we need to intervene now. This map shows the kiddos who performed 0 to 10th percentile. They calculated the percentage of those children who live in each of the neighborhoods in Las Vegas and the county. The darkest green is the areas of the town with the most percentage of children who are vulnerable. So this includes a lot of Ward 3, Ward 4 a little bit, Wards 1 and 2 doing a little bit better. So this is the map overall performance. And then the map is also mapped for each domain. So you can see that the same area is vulnerable across each domain except for communication and general knowledge. Good news, San Miguel County doesn't, and Las Vegas doesn't fare too much worse than the state overall. San Miguel County performs at about 27.6 of the population are vulnerable versus 26.7 of the kiddos in the state. However, that's still pretty alarming. 1 in 4 of the Las Vegas children are vulnerable to an adverse outcome later on. Can you please, for time's sake, I won't go too much into race, but data is also collected on race and divided that way as well. So what's going on? The U.S. Census collected some survey data in 2020 on 11 different indicators. These indicators include domains such as social, economic, educational, and wealth. And these are data around percentage of disconnected youth, meaning they're not in school or working. Families who are living in poverty, families on public assistance, families who are from a single parent household, which we know is a predictor of adverse outcomes. The areas in gray show higher vulnerability. This is a map of the neighborhood, the National Neighborhood Equity Index overall, with all of these combined. Mina is showing you a little bit here of the dark area, which shows at least 3 indicators are barriers for families. The darkest red is 6 or more indicators. Darker purple. So luckily, Las Vegas doesn't have any families experiencing more than 3 to 4 equity barriers. But it's still pretty alarming that a lot of the town does experience some barriers. The EDI and then NNEI are related. We would expect the families with more barriers for their children to perform worse on the EDI. In fact, families with a high number of barriers are 84% more likely to have a vulnerable score on the EDI, especially in language and cognitive development. But it's not all bad news, right? Can you change the map, please? When we combine NNEI data and EDI data, we can look at patterns for resilience. Resilience shows areas that are doing well. So we want to know what areas are doing well, how can we replicate what they are doing in other areas, and what areas are not doing well, and where do we need to spend our time and our resources to intervene. When kiddos who performed as a vulnerable score on the EDI have an expected number of barriers, let me rephrase that. When there are a lot of barriers, we would expect kids to perform low on the EDI. When they perform as expected, that's in the gray area. This could also mean they have a low number of barriers and they perform well. When they have a lot of barriers but perform well or better than expected, we call that positive deviance, and those areas are shown in blue. When they have a certain amount of barriers and they perform worse than expected, we call that negative deviance, and those areas are shown in orange and red. So you can see, please excuse, honey. You can see that the same area that's very vulnerable on some of the EDIs has a negative deviance. These kiddos are performing worse than expected. A lot of award 3, some award 4. And just for context, this is Mills Avenue, the plaza, it's about right here, I-25, Grand Avenue. So you can see that this is an area that we really got to focus some time and intervention. Those are the kiddos who are most vulnerable. So I'm here tonight to say, let's partner up. Let's decrease the number of barriers that families are encountering. Let's support early development and school readiness, and let's build resilience in our community. The coalition very much values the partnership that the city and the department so far have played in the coalition's requests for spaces and involvement in our efforts. We appreciate the recent efforts for local trails and parks. There's still some barriers, though, that families are mentioning. Some of these barriers include a lack of access to toddler and infant equipment in local parks. As far as physical activities, we need more early childhood daycares, a high-quality program, a high-quality summer program, affordable housing for families. And in order to address some of these, we did a survey last year of the Gallinas River Park, and I will transition now to that discussion because it is a very underutilized asset in this community that we think we could focus some time and effort. So you may or may not have seen this video, but I think it's perfect for highlighting. Oh. Let's see. Looks like some technical difficulties. It's not playing for us. I'll summarize. The video highlights that the Hermits Peak Watershed Alliance has coordinated an effort back in 2016, and we have Director Leah Netson here with us tonight. Hundreds of hours, community voices, local organizations, thousands of dollars were dedicated to some very elaborate plans to revive the river ecosystem and to make the surrounding space around the Gallinas River and the park and the trails safe, accessible, and engaging for families. This work was halted in 2020 due to COVID-19 and then never progressed because of the fires and the flooding and the watershed damage. However, the coalition, the Hermits Peak Watershed Alliance, and other local organizations like the San Miguel County Health and Family and Community Health Council, Las Vegas First, the Las Vegas Community Foundation, New Mexico Highlands University, Luna, we're all ready to rally again to see this project forward. The plans still exist. All they need is a little bit of review and a little bit of budgeting adjustments due to inflation. But we really think that this is an asset that runs through some of these vulnerable areas that families can access. We can put little free libraries. There's plans for playgrounds that include toddler and infant equipment, natural classrooms, outdoor classrooms, amphitheaters, lots of really amazing possibilities for the river trail that families can use to improve literacy and development and to teach kiddos history, culture, and enjoy our environment. I just ask that the city consider reconvening the Friends of the Gallinas River Park Committee so that we can facilitate this work and see it through. With that, I will end. I realize I didn't give my full introduction. I'm a Las Vegas native. I graduated from Robertson High School in 2009, moved to Albuquerque to do my schooling. I'll graduate in May with my medical doctorate and master's in public health. It's my dream to return home as a full spectrum family medicine physician and pretty close to doing that. So here's Mina enjoying the river walk last fall. We ate some Olivia's burritos and then went to the river, and she created a bark boat next to this J hook vane that was installed by the Watershed Alliance. The boat sank, but hopefully next time we'll make it work, huh? Thank you so much for your time, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you. And typically, this is presentations, we don't allow comments, but if it's okay with the rest of the council, Councilor Casey wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, I do. Mrs. Urrutia, that was an excellent, excellent presentation. Thank you so much. And I represent Ward 3, and I want you to know, and please report to the early development people that new playground equipment for small children and children up to ages, I believe, 12, is going to be installed and should be ready for use by April. So I'm very happy about that. The other thing that I wanted to say is that I chaired the San Miguel Family and Community Health Council for 21 years. And after all those years, I stepped away. And I regret it a little bit. It was a lot of work. And I really felt like somebody else should step in after me being there for such a long time. But I commend you on what you're doing. I think it's wonderful. Macy, who was your predecessor, was a member of the Northern Literacy Council. And I was a member of that, and she was a member of that. And so she would keep us up on what was going on. And so I'm very happy because I didn't know who had taken over, and I'm very happy that you're here. My question to the city manager and to the mayor is to ask if we can incorporate some of this information that Mrs. Urrutia has brought before us, because I think it's really essential, especially the early development instrument that's used and the astounding numbers of children that are vulnerable. 27% may not seem like a lot, but it really is, and that kind of scares me. And it scares me even more that the concentration of that is in Ward 3 and Ward 4. And I can kind of picture in my own mind where those children are located in those two wards. And so I would like to see this information included in the city's master plan, so that it's a 5-year master plan, it's reviewed every 5 years. And if we can have this information to put in there so that other people are aware, and maybe we can start moving in a different direction so that we can make those children less vulnerable and more, be school-ready and those kinds of things that are necessary to have a successful start an education life for them. So that's what I would like to see. So, Mr. Mayor, City Manager, if you could work with the people who are preparing the 5-year plan and include this. And I'm sure that Mrs. Urrutia would be happy to share this information with them also.
Happy to develop a report for that.
And Mr. Manager, and I want to, I'll call Mr. Marcus into this because he's the one that's leading that master plan. And it's important, I think, that, that you all are here. And I know there's been conversation, not only now, but, previous months that the city needs to follow the 2016 master plan. But we're right in the middle right now of the 2026 master plan. So I don't know about some individuals, but I want to, move forward and not look backwards at what we have, right? So it's important, and I think Mr. Manager and Mr. Marcus know about, they're really involving everybody, because I think the last master plan in 2020, I don't know if enough effort was made to bring in everybody from the whole community. So, we're really, and I don't know, Mr. Manager, if you want to say something, or Mr. Marcus, kind of where they're at with the public, the community input. I don't know.
I defer to
Just
Mr. Marcus. I would like to make a
this is presentation,
comment
but I
after.
think it's important since they're here and they're probably watching individuals. Go ahead.
Of course, Mayor, Council, and Mr. City Manager. So we do have the master plan, people coming down on March 9th, I believe, Mr. Zunker, yes, March 9th. We'll be having a big community meeting over at the Recreation Department. We're going to try to get as many people as we can over there. We will get with our PIO and get that out to the public here. We just had a couple of things to just tie up to make sure that we're solidified on there. And we want to have all these groups in with their input. We are going to get some surveys together so we can see what the community is wanting best. I know the big ones that are going to be hitting us are water and streets, but we also have other things that we got to look at. This is a major one. I think it's something that we'll do some big consideration in, and we'll definitely try to involve her in any which way we can.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager?
Mayor, Councilman Casey, and the full council, I absolutely will stay active in the communications. I'd like to learn more, spend a lot of time myself, maternal and child health, in some of my previous work, so I look forward to learning more and for sure incorporating it within our master plan and other planning efforts that we do as a city to integrate your work with our work.
Thank you so much.
Councilman Olivari, and then we'll move on to the next presentation.
Thank you, Nicole. We got a master plan for Rodriguez Park, and Rodriguez Park is one of the biggest items that I've seen that we're working with. Once we finish that park there, there's gonna be a lot of recreation for our kids. A lot. We might have some plans getting the people to take care of it, or to not take care of it, to get to any baseball, well, we have baseball teams. Yeah, we got football in there, we got soccer in there, but this master plan for Rodriguez is gonna be one of the biggest things for the city of Las Vegas, and our council and our city managers and whoever's involved with it is, we're planning on that, because, that's what we need for a small town. And it's people like you and that shows us what we need to do, and Rodriguez is one of the biggest, it's one of the prettiest places that we can do that now. And it's gonna take some time, and we'll just work on it to really get it done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We very much appreciate that time and that work. Mina has some presents for you.
Thank you. And to give everybody an opportunity, I know Councilman Martinez, Councilman.
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the information. It's well received, and I commend you on putting this all together. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
I will just add this. The majority of this council, including even our attorney, and we have one of our members of our finance committee out there, including their city manager, and of course, Dr. Barbara Casey. A lot of us we're wholeheartedly involved in schools at one point in our life, and we see that needs to make progress moving forward in our community. So it's something that we will hold dear to our, in any decision-making moving forward, definitely.
Thank you so much.
you,
The
Mayor. Thank you.
children of our community need you, and look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
You want to go get them some? Let's go.
I know they're.
And you can give them to your departments or.
Thank you, ma'am.
Take care.
Thank you for doing all the work.
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. I think we'll have to go through the sizes, because I know I'm in a fitness challenge, but I don't know if I'll fit into this one. So,
This was my size. I picked right.
okay, meanwhile, I know we have our next presentation. I don't know if we have him online yet.
Hey, Mayor.
Hold on. So, Ms. Cassandra?
Mr. Mayor, our final presentation is by, I believe, Martha Vera with Sister Cities International, and we also have Peter.
And I'll go ahead and start this off. I know this is something I've been working with Peter probably about a year and a half. And I know in order for the sister cities, in order for it to be successful, you have to get support of Highlands University. I'd spoken, I know Councilor Casey probably about a year ago. And then finally we got Highlands on board, and then we have a gentleman now that, works for Highlands, and we have the full support from Highlands. So I wanted to, bring this to the governing body. Mr. Peter, if you don't mind, kind of briefing what Sister Cities is. And I know that, internally, there's basically a fee that we be paying to enter into Sister Cities, which it's minimal. I spoke with finance and the city manager, and it's, something that we didn't have to come before council. But I thought it was important that the community knows what we're trying to do here. And so go ahead, Mr. Peter, and
Thank you.
thank you, guys.
Thank you again, Mayor. And thank you again, Council. I know these meetings can go on long, so we'll keep them brief. My name again is Peter Schwartzbahn. I'm the former Mayor Pro Tempore of El Paso, Texas, and a two-term city councilman down the river there in El Paso. So very wonderful to see you guys doing this. I have a small presentation. I'm the former national chairman of Sister Cities International, having served on the national board from 2016 and then as national chairman from 2022 to 2024. So Sister Cities is a really great organization. I'm going to share over here. Let me just know if y'all can see this. Can y'all see the presentation real quick?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So Sister Cities International is one of the oldest and largest citizen diplomacy nonprofits in the world. It was founded by Dwight Eisenhower in 1956. In the middle of the Cold War, Eisenhower was looking for a way to avoid World War III. And at a time where countries weren't talking to each other, he felt that city-to-city relationship, people-to-people exchanges would be a way to encourage global peace and prosperity. And so Sister Cities International was created on September 11th, 1956, originally with a handful of U.S. and German and Japanese sister cities. Again, the mission of Sister Cities is to promote peace through mutual respect, understanding, and one cooperation, one individual and one community at a time. And what started as a handful of German and Japanese and U.S. cities has now bloomed and blossomed to over 1,200 cities across 120 countries across the world, with over 400 member cities in our Sister Cities International network. And so what is a Sister City organization? You can think of this as grassroots diplomacy, as subnational diplomacy, city-to-city exchanges. At times where we can see the challenges in our world, this is, again, a way, an opportunity for two cities to be able to connect through a variety of different ways. The ways that those cities connect are ultimately up to themselves, but we have generally seen sister city groupings around a couple different ways: through arts and cultural exchange, through youth and educational exchange, through trade and economic development, and through municipal and technical exchanges. How do these partnerships begin? There's a variety of different ways. Some of them are mayor relationships, other are diasporic communities. For example, San Jose, California has a sister city relationship with Dublin, Ireland. Why is that? Because there was a couple of Irish Americans who felt very strongly about celebrating their heritage as both Irish and Americans and created a sister city relationship. Other cities have used organizational partners. For example, universities. I know, for example, there's a strong partnership with the University of New Mexico and Sister City in Israel, and that was created through a variety of community and technical exchanges there. Historical connections. Santa Fe, New Mexico has a sister city with Santa Fe, Spain. And we've seen a lot of cities within the Southwest utilize their historic relationships with Spain to create sister city relationships. Also, we've seen cities look at targeting based upon economic supply chains. Another example is Chihuahua City and Albuquerque, relating to the aerospace industry. Also with El Paso, we've signed a sister city agreement with Parras, Coahuila in Mexico, because Parras is the largest and oldest. It's the oldest wine distillery in the Americas, and a lot of their bottling, a lot of their product is going through Juarez and El Paso. So we shared and strengthened that relationship through a sister city agreement. How do partnerships begin? It often starts with a general inquiry. Oftentimes, membership with Sister Cities International gives additional tools for cities to explore other sister cities. We keep a database, and Martha Vera will talk about this a little later in the presentation, about cities that are looking for other sister cities in different countries and also in different parts of the America, in the United States as well. Ultimately, a sister city agreement is formalized between two mayors or the highest appointed elected officials. In those agreements, Sister Cities International, if requested, can help come up with templates, but oftentimes those are created by both of the cities, and they can be as formal and specific or as general as the two cities want. Who can be part of a Sister Cities program? Anyone. This is not, Sister City programs at its heart are volunteer driven. This is really grassroots diplomacy. So our best Sister City programs are a mix between city support with a strong volunteer and community base, right? So thinking about professors, universities, other religious groups, artists and musicians, high schools, you name it, those are the things that make these sister city relationships run. The mayor was spot on in having Highland University as a strong partner because those kind of institutions are the kind of bedrock that keeps these sister city programs flowing year after year, regardless of who might be mayor or city council at the time. As a general cost, the mayor talked about it for a city like the size of Las Vegas, you're looking at about a $440 annual fee for a city between 10,000 to 25,000. And with that, we again help with a number of different ways. Again, helping them with governance and policy, making sure that, our sister city program, we have a number of volunteer networks. We have volunteer state representatives as well as country representatives who have seen it all when it comes towards citizen diplomacy and oftentimes are there as a resource for a city when they're coming on board to be able to help them in developing out and thinking about how to create their sister city program. Martha, I don't know if you'd like to talk a little bit more at this point.
Hi there. Hello, everyone. I'm Martha Vera, Honorary Consul of Spain and country representative for Spain for Sister Cities International. And I wanted to let you know that membership has many benefits. First of all, there are a number of services and resources that you can use, discounts for the members, for our summits, as well as, having a network of cities that can actually help you make your city even better.
And just to point this out, some of the cities that we have an active database of international cities that are looking for American cities to join with. And with that is our presentation that we have here. We want to thank again the mayor for giving us the opportunity for presenting here. And, again, at a time where we see cities and countries engaged and involved in a variety of different ways, a sister city program is a really great way to celebrate the ways that our differences bring us together. It's a really great opportunity for the youth of a country to show that no matter how small their city is, we can think globally and act locally. And anytime we give an opportunity for the next generation to see the value in their own selves and their own communities and see how we're all connected in this world, the better off we all are by having that kind of global perspective about our own local opportunities and uniqueness.
Thank you, Peter. And we also do have the president of our Luna Community College here in the audience. I know I hadn't had an opportunity to talk to her, but I'm sure that they're in the same. They agree. I think this would be a benefit. The way I saw it, when presented to me, and again, I know I met you and Mayor Alex DeSume, the mayor of North Miami, Florida, and you guys, he was advocating. I know his community has many sister cities, not only in the U.S. but around the whole world. And it just saw the opportunities that they were able to do, with economic development, student exchanges, makes it a lot simpler. To me, it was like a no-brainer. I don't know if the council had any questions. If you guys had anything or any to ask Peter or Martha. Mr. Pacheco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Peter, Martha, thank you so much for the information. I just want to say I fully support this program. I think we have some great opportunities ahead of us. We've put some of this legwork in, and I believe that we can have a strong partnership with individuals that are coming into Las Vegas and living here, and still have ties to their home area.
Yeah.
So I think there's some good possibilities for us moving forward.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to mention, does a sister city the size of Las Vegas does it have to be tied to a city that would be of the same size and so forth? It does not?
No, no, not at all. You know, what we see is cities increasingly are looking at these sister city programs as an opportunity for looking at investment and economic development in terms of supply chains and workforce development. So a lot of cities are looking at it less about are we the similar size of the city, more so in we're trying to develop this kind of industry, or we have this kind of program in our university. What kind of exchange could we do to sort of strengthen that? And I think that Las Vegas, in particular, you guys are fortunate in that you have a very strong statewide program. You have a former chairperson, Carol Robertson Lopez, who's based in Santa Fe. Our current treasurer and board member, Peter Ives, is the former mayor pro tem of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he sits on our board as well. And you have a very engaged and active Albuquerque program in addition to other cities there as well. So you have a lot of resources to lean in on there, especially northern New Mexico, to sort of help in terms of really building out your program and thinking about who would make sense to join as a sister city with Las Vegas.
So the information that was on this packet, those other cities that are involved in this packet, you've got several cities in the, of course, the US and then international cities as well.
Yeah.
Are these cities have applied for to be a sister city? And we would normally pick from these, or?
We have like a sort of membership database. So these are cities that have reached out to us and say we're interested in a US city that's focused on, say, agriculture that is 100,000 population. It doesn't mean you have to join that. It really comes up to both of the cities themselves making that decision. If you yourself or the mayor were interested in exploring, say, a sister city in Jamaica, that would be something that, you know, we could help to identify, but it's also something that the city itself could reach in on. We as a national organization do not tell local cities who they should be sister cities with. If we hear of something, we can share that, and we're also there as a resource. So if for example, Las Cruces said Las Vegas wanted to look at a Spanish city, Martha might be able to help as the Spanish country representative. She could reach out to the embassy to see if they've heard of anything, or she might know of something. We as a national organization can help with templates for creating what that sister city agreement could look like, or reaching out to other cities that might already have something that would fit with y'all.
Thank you very much. Big benefit to, I believe, both cities and, you know, whomever they might be. And I think it would be something good to work on, you know, with you guys in the future, definitely.
We're here to help, so if you need anything, you're not alone. And there are also country reps for every other country out there, so. And as you know, Peter is the country rep for Israel as well, so you can be sister cities with anyone you want.
All right. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
I'm glad
You're
I was
welcome.
finally able to get you on here, and you'll be in contact probably with the manager or somebody from the staff to get this going.
Absolutely. I want to thank all of y'all for your service to your community. It's truly a thankless job, but the work that y'all are doing is absolutely important. So thank you again for your service to your community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to our next item is going to be our business item number 1. Conduct a public hearing and adopt ordinance number 2509 to amend the municipal code of the City of Las Vegas, Chapter 450 thereof entitled Zoning, to add a new section entitled Treatment Facilities, Halfway Houses, Community Residential Program Facilities, to provide for zoning regulations and exemptions.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to enter public hearing.
I make a motion to enter public hearing.
A motion by Councilman Pacheco. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Martinez. Roll call.
Counselor Olivari? Yes. Counselor Pacheco?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Pacheco, a second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. If I can have any of those that will be speaking on this issue to please stand, raise your right hand so you can be sworn in. Under the penalties of perjury, you do swear that your testimony tonight, whole truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Ms. Cassandra, did you have a list of how
I
they're
do.
coming up? Okay, thank you.
I'll go ahead and, I don't know if you want to speak to it first or? Okay. The first person is Mr. Mark Size.
And as you come, just for the record, just make sure that the mic is red and then just state your name. I know she's calling you, but just to.
Before you start the clock, the presentation software must have changed. They're doing a great job with that presentation software. It used to be pretty edgy, but I think that they've done a great job the way that it looks now. So now you can start the clock. I'm here to talk about proposed ordinance 2509 because I am looking at this from strictly a ministerial and an experiential type of attitude that I've had over the years. We have been involved off and on in my ministry and the ministry I come from in Espanola for well over 35 years, maybe closer to 40 years in the rehab. The way that it's written there's other names that have been put in. Every time that I look at this ordinance, I've been looking at this ordinance since the beginning. This is probably the fourth or the fifth time that I've been here in a public setting talking about ordinance 2509. And every time that I look at it, every time that I read it, every time that I print it, every time that I talk with anybody about it, all I see is no, no, no. I do not have any future plans right now of opening up a rehab center, but I look at it from strictly a ministerial and from my experience. I believe that the Christian, the gospel, is a closer to the full circle of bringing a person out of whatever their addiction is, whatever their big situation is that needs to be done, because I've seen it done and I've even seen it in my own life over the years. So I'm here to say is that I continue to read this and I say, okay, well, they say yes, but then no, and then we'll do you a conditional use permit, and then a conditional use permit is so restrictive, and I do not see, maybe on the business side, I don't see anybody trying to come into town to set up any type of rehab centers or anything like that, but as churches, and I've talked to other pastors, I've talked to other leaders in town about this, and I cannot see why we're trying to, in my estimation, we are trying to solve a problem that we don't have. We don't have a lot of rehab centers. How many rehab centers do we have? How many people are trying to get in? How many problems have we had with rehab centers? I don't see any. Maybe I don't know enough about it, but I think that what we're trying to do is we're trying to solve a problem that we don't have in Las Vegas, and I would love to see further talk about this before you would enact it, because I would hate to see my city have to go through legal ramifications and maybe even to the point of us losing money as a city over it. In closing, I think that we need to think about this. We need to, we've talked about it a little bit, and I hope that when we do it, is that we do it thinking of not only just maybe on the big scope, but from the religious. Because once again, it's the gospel that I believe in collaboration with other situations that can close the circle. And I'm all about the gospel, and I'm about helping. In my experience, it's never been about money. We funded our own situation, and we continue to do so. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Did you fit? One more thing. My form of rehab, and Mr. Lujan that's sitting next to me, is the golf course. So thank you very much for helping out with the golf course, okay? Because I need that every once in a while.
You're doing a good job cleaning that ditch over there. I can find my ball now.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good find.
You might find a few of mine in there.
No, they got them all out.
Mr. Mayor, next we have Rebecca Maldonado Moore.
I know a few people I need to put up for him.
Do I give a?
That's up to you. If you want to use that one, if you want to use this one.
I'm recovering from a cold and my voice is kind of crackly. Okay, thank you so much for allowing me this time, Chairman and councilors. And I am here to speak about City Ordinance 2509 as well. I'm the chair of the Samaritan House Board. I'm an ally of Crossroads and their integrative health and recovery solutions, and I'm a professor of social work at New Mexico Highlands University. I've taught substance abuse courses, human behavior, crisis intervention courses, and macro practice, and I believe we are all our brother's keepers. I'm here tonight with respect to the zoning regulations because of its impact on future treatment facilities, halfway houses, the residential care programs, and shelters. And my primary concerns about restricting these nonprofit businesses are centered on the individual, the family, and the larger community that currently utilize all of these services. It's really about the clients, the guests, and the patients accessing these services who are generally individuals with substance use disorders, mental and behavioral health disorders, co-occurring disorders, and more likely to be homeless. The services include, from the shelter homes perspective, food and clothing distribution, showers, laundry, screening and referrals, literacy classes, shelters, of course, and referrals to existing treatment programs in the area. Samaritan House has a very strong relationship with Crossroads, who provides exceptional evidence-based, client-centered, holistic community services. They address all of those areas I've previously mentioned. They especially address women's transitional housing and treatment, and they're the only program or facility in the immediate county areas. Our combined services impact hundreds of individuals and families on a monthly basis. My understanding of this proposed ordinance is that it will restrict services and operations for shelters and the other organizations that may not meet the requirements. Many of these organizations are indeed nonprofits with limited or restricted funding sources, and these restrictions will increase the visibility of individuals who are homeless or in need of mental health and behavioral health services. Part of this very complex situation should address the quality of life of all citizens, as well as those who are already stigmatized in our larger community. Please reconsider the needs of the most marginalized people of Las Vegas and how this ordinance will impact them. All of these individuals and organizations are our brothers and sisters. They are our neighbors who depend on the range of the services that we provide, and that
minutes, Mr. Mayor.
and that I just want to close by saying thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
And I do have some information for distribution.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to our next person is Ms. Corina Laszlo Henry.
I'm not accustomed to there being a time limitation in public hearings. I guess maybe is that a new thing?
Mr. Mayor, it's at the discretion of the chair, especially if there was going to be multiple individuals speaking. Certainly is at your discretion.
We've always had
and we've
public
had-
input, and I guess we
We-
never really,
I was just about to state, at least over my time with the city, there's been a time limitation for testimony.
Okay. So I'll get, if you had Ms. Moore, if you had anything else to say, I'll go ahead and allow that. I'm used to the regular public input, but if you needed more time to say anything, I could give you some more time. I don't know if you wanted more time or. You're good, okay. Same thing with you, Pastor Seiss. Did you want to say anything else, or?
How much time do you have?
Yeah. I think just, for the sake of business, we want to, make sure that you guys say what you have to say.
I said over the times that I've been in here,
That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. Karina Laszlo Henry.
And just to be clear, I'm here as a constituent, as a resident, taxpayer, property owner. I try to be a good neighbor, and I aspire to love my neighbors. And I want my neighbors to get the treatment that they need in the most convenient manner that they can. And I too am worried that this ordinance 2509 is discriminatory and stigmatizing. So because I guess the time is limited, I will just state that April 12th of last year, I was walking my dogs in my neighborhood and I came upon a cease and desist order citing Chapter 160-7, license required, on the side of one of my neighbor's homes. I thought that tended to be a stigmatizing thing, so I would like to move that into the record. That's a photograph that I took. Also taped to the same residence was Resolution 24-38, a moratorium prohibiting the approving of placement and licensing of any drug rehab and/or training centers, residential reentry centers, homes, halfway houses, boarding houses, group homes, communal homes, assisted living, and community adult residences to ensure the city's sustainable and efficient growth. And it has a couple of purposes for which the moratorium was originally enacted, and including a directive to city staff and attorney to consider any health safety issues that could be addressed, any traffic volume, routing of traffic, parking issues, issues with police, fire protection, overall density in areas of the city, setback-related issues between single-family residential properties and commercial properties, et cetera. So I would also like to have that, and that again was taped to my neighbor's doors. I'd like to have that entered into the record in this case. And I would like for the council to inquire of any of your other witnesses if any of those things were done and what kinds of findings on those issues, like traffic, et cetera. Because I, like the other speaker, feel like this is looking for, it's not clear what the problem is that is meant to be addressed. I would like to move that in as well. Because the original moratorium adjusted a business licensure requirement. And yet, the residence that I saw that on was quite clearly a residence. And in fact, one person who was like, yeah, what are you looking at? Yeah, that thing, said, yeah, I live here. So, so to me, I think that there's a little bit of a broad aim. The other issues here that I see is that I think that this ordinance itself, as a zoning ordinance, which is what it has turned out to be from originally regulating businesses, and I will say that January 8th, 2025 was when that moratorium was originally brought in, and it sounded like the discussion from my reading of the minutes from that meeting, the discussion was around boarding home regulations that have been adopted in by the state of New Mexico, by the health department. And I think that's a great idea to coordinate registration or licensure requirements that are in Chapter 160 in our code with keeping tabs. Where are these places? Are they overly dense in one area? Are they complying with state regulations, or are they exempt from those state regulations? But that's not what this does, and in fact, this is very muddy, and this is where it comes in. Like I said, I'm not here in a representative capacity, but I am a licensed attorney, and I would be absolutely at a loss. Some prospective hypothetical client comes to me, whether they are a group of people living together in a home, or whether they are a healthcare provider, or whether they are a small business owner with a particular, or a church. I would have a very difficult time trying to advise them, here's how you can be in compliance here. And that's because of what I see to be conflicting and circular definitions in the first section 157. things like excluding standard and typical. The word typical and typically appears like 3 or 4 times throughout this, and I don't know what that means, because it's too gray of a standard, it's too malleable, and it leaves too much discretion. One of the ways to get stuck in an arbitrary and capricious action is to have mushy ordinances that give staff too much discretion, or, not enough guidance. I did, through a neighbor of mine, request some background on the ordinances from other jurisdictions that were looked at, because that has come up in a couple of things, and I noticed that Rio Rancho is regulating it as a business. It's not part of their zoning laws. We seem to have taken some of the definitions in from the Rio Rancho ordinance, and that has caused some grammatical errors at the bottom of page 1 and into the red portion. The community residential programs do not include, and it's discussing nursing care, skilled nursing care, or persons currently in the custody of. So you're jumping from defining the facilities to defining the persons who might be using those facilities. And then by the end of that sentence, it goes back to such services. So a lot of illustrative languages, typically such as, et cetera, in there. Full-time programmatic supervision, I think would be up for debate what that means. And again, in the 158 section, it says, due to the potential for incompatibility with the primary residential character and density, and you're calling that a prohibited use. So primarily, these, at least the halfway houses by the definitions in the community residential program facilities, are residential uses. And so they should be compatible in residential zones. If there was any incompatibility found, again, I'd ask you to please ask any witnesses that you have here today, what were those findings? And so it is generally prohibited, but a conditional use permit can be applied for. Basically, that tells me that we are going to institutionalize this discriminatory stigmatization of people's treatment choices, or other aspects of their, where they reside, where they choose to reside. I'll just skip forward to section of the subsection 158, section 4, operational plan, operational standards. I very much doubt that the city has currently the staffing expertise to make those determinations, and should rely on the Department of Health. Oddly, then, you are allowing those residential uses with this ordinance in the commercial zones, which again would seem incompatible. I think you're casting your net way too broad with the broad treatment facilities. If it was a narrower community residential program type place, that would make a lot more sense to me. I would like to just again, offer into evidence the Rio Rancho, because I know that was looked at. The Rio Rancho ordinance, again, regulates businesses. It seems to dovetail, even though it was written before the 2019 regulation amendments in the healthcare facilities and supervision of boarding homes, which I do think we do need regulation for. But it very, very significantly allows for reasonable accommodations. It has a process within it to comply with the Fair Housing Act. As well, it's a very clear checklist, and if you check off that list, it leaves no discretion to city staff, and it's permissive. It says you may do this in residential areas. So it doesn't put you through the club. So I would like to enter that into The other ordinance that was part of that IPRA received by Mr. Lee Einer was in Albuquerque Ordinance 14-16-3-12. And that is Community Residential Program Regulations. That is a 1987, it was, I think the ordinance number 41-1987, it was codified, what I just told you, but it has been repealed for a very long time. So that was drafted before the Fair Housing Act that is currently in effect, and it has some problems, but again, even it did not prohibit these places in residential zones. The current Albuquerque ordinance has, does define community residential facilities, has two sizes of them, large ones and small ones. Those are, the small ones are permitted across residential and mixed-use areas. The large ones are permitted across multifamily housing and mixed use. Those, the definition of community residential facilities includes a facility that is designated to provide a residence and services for persons who need personal assistance services, personal care and/or protective care, and who meet the definition of handicapped person or are protected against housing discrimination under the Federal Fair Housing Act amendments of 1998 and court decisions interpreting that act. And then it excludes nursing care and those kinds of other facilities and breaks down what is a small one and what is a large one. But it very specifically references that people who fit that definition, that creates a community residential facility. Group homes, on the other hand, it specifically excludes persons who are, who meet the definition of handicapped persons. And so I would like to have both the excerpts from the Albuquerque ordinances that are in effect today, the excerpt from the one that was provided by the city with our IPRA, which has been repealed to comply with anti-discrimination protections, as well as the Rio Rancho Chapter 120 in place, because I think that you need to go back to the drawing board with this. I will state that the Fair Housing Act requires a municipality to make a reasonable accommodation in rules, policies, practices, or services when such accommodation may be necessary to afford a person with disabilities equal opportunity to use and enjoy a dwelling. And that's 42 U.S.C. 3604 F3B. Numerous decisions based on that. So you're giving a lot of work for your planning and zoning department if every one of these is going to first require a conditional use permit and also is going to be subject to that reasonable accommodation process. I will note, because I think that the history of this moratorium shows beyond institution bias, but possible animus, possibly, towards certain disabilities that people can have. CMDS Residential LLC versus Mayor and City Council of Baltimore held that individuals with substance use disorders are disabled under the FHA. Same with Caldera LLC versus City of Claremont, New Hampshire, and Pacific Shores Property LLC versus City of Newport Beach. That's under the Fair Housing Act, not under all law. Very recent case, 2023, from El Paso County, Courage to Change Ranches Holding Company versus El Paso County, also upheld reasonable accommodations, requiring municipalities to provide reasonable accommodations and make exceptions to zoning rules to afford people with disabilities the same access to housing as those who are without disabilities. We have a housing problem underway, potentially. Our zoning code, as far as I can tell, doesn't even designate multifamily housing. I don't know the extent the zoning map is really followed. I've seen a lot of zoning changes on very little purposes. This is doing something else, and I don't think it's something that anybody of you folks really wanted to or intended to do. So I really urge you to vote no on this. I also will point out that the item on the agenda is public hearing and adoption, and that obviates the purpose of a public hearing if it's already, the action taken is already preordained on the agenda. Thank you.
This is the public hearing right now, that we're conducting right now is the public hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I just did notice that the business is conduct a public hearing and adopt, rather than and consider for adopted, pass or not pass.
So.
Thank you, Mayor.
So this first one is we have the public hearing, and then we're going in, the next item would be when we get out of public hearing for consideration of adoption, just to be clear. So after we go into this, then we'll go into the actual item for consideration of adoption of this ordinance.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, and thank you for taking the time to hear me out. I know it was quite a bit longer than maybe the 3 minutes.
And Mr. Pacheco, did you have a question?
No, you clarified, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, our next person is Fabiola Sanchez.
Good evening, Ms. Sanchez.
For the time, Mayor and Council, I really appreciate that you gave us more than the 2 or 3 minutes that we're normally given. I wouldn't be able to have followed up this lady that just made her presentation, but the first thing, I have 2 points to make. That the first thing is that we are here now because after input, you will vote to adopt or not to adopt this ordinance. And we have been here for months and months and months on this, and all we've been given is public input, which we have been given 2 or 3 minutes to give our input. I have requested that we have public input where we can have a discussion between all the interested parties and the city so that we can actually discuss it. Not just say we're against it and then you take that for whatever it's worth. I think that this is a very important topic that should be discussed and not just tell you what I don't like about it. But in order to adequately care for our residents that are in need of these services, our city must make it easier to facilitate these programs, these treatment centers, counseling centers, rather than to make it so difficult and over-regulation, so that way they're going to other cities where they welcome them in rather than try to keep them out. There is no way that anyone in this room can think that we have enough facilities now for our people that need help. My sister lives close to Central. She's on Juan Tabo, but she's close to Central. And if you've ever driven down Central, you'll see that Central is dying because the homeless and the drug addicted are hanging out in the businesses. They all had to put chain link fences and locks on their doors. If anybody wants to go in, they have to unlock the door to let you in, so they make sure that it's not somebody that is homeless that they don't want in their business. And to me is that, wouldn't you rather have these people that need help in centers where they're getting help, rather than them being in the street to hurt themselves or hurt our residents? I think we need the help, and I really think that it would benefit us to have more centers like this. And what the lady before me said, as far as having these places in residential areas, I realize that people don't want these kind of places in their neighborhoods, but we do have to care for each other, you know, and I have a nursing home where there's about 20 men that live there, that live right across the street from me. So I have to be careful. I live alone, but I'm careful. But they're there. They're walking up and down the street all day long. You can't just be so cold to say, we don't want any of this, let's just not have it. What you're going to do is you're just going to have them in the streets then. And I just would ask you to reconsider, not adopt this resolution, this ordinance, and take it back to the table and have discussions. Bring people from the community that are interested. There's been several people that have come to every one of these meetings every time it's brought up. And this started since, I think, June. We've been having these meetings. And the solution really is for us to sit down and discuss it, that the city would find out what we have against it and see how we can fix it, rather than just change a couple of sentences and bring it up and hope we can pass it without anybody noticing it. I really ask for our community, for the betterment of our community and our citizens. These people need help. And I thank God that there are some agencies that are already here, but I know the pregnancy center is there, and that building that they're in, they're selling that building, so they're gonna have to find a new building. They're going to come up with this ordinance and to have to be approved through that ordinance. It's gonna be hard for them. This is a nonprofit that doesn't have money. We should make it easier for these organizations to be out here helping people that need it, not make it harder. So I beg you all to reconsider and not approve this ordinance. Thank you for the time.
Mayor, the final person signed up is Ms. Star Ford.
Welcome.
So I'm Star Ford. I serve on the zoning board, but I'm here speaking only for myself right now. I've read through this, and the basic structure of it being a conditional use seems pretty acceptable to me. And the other main aspect of the ordinance is that this dividing between the small and the large facilities, and the small ones can be in residential neighborhoods, and the large ones cannot. That also seems fairly reasonable. However, there's a lot of duplicative things in here. There's enforcement problems, and there's part of it that's just really mean-spirited. The one thing that jumped out at me, I'll just read it. Outdoor areas. Any outdoor waiting or recreational areas must be appropriately screened and located to minimize disturbance to adjacent properties. Now, when I read that, I read, we don't want to see them. That's what that says, right? So I feel like that runs afoul of civil liberties, and it may be unconstitutional, along with some of these other things. If someone wants to go out at night, if I'm allowed to go out at night, anyone should be allowed to go out at night. If I'm allowed to sit on my front porch, anyone should be allowed to sit on their front porch. And then the other main problem is the duplicative nature of it. Parking and noise ordinances and different things. It will say the facilities have to follow the rules for these various things, like parking. But there's already a rule for parking. So making another rule that says you have to follow this other rule is just adding confusion. So we really need to eliminate all the things that are already rules. And it just feels like you really need an attorney to go through this and really clean it up. It's kind of a mess right now, so it's basic. Thank you.
So at this time, I'd like to call or just Mr. Marcus, Scott, and also chime in our legal representative that has had an opportunity to review this. So governing body, I don't know if you guys have questions, based off of the testimony that was given here. If you guys have questions of our city staff, including our legal representation. Councilors?
Mayor, Council, if it's possible, there were a couple of things that were entered into record, and since they were entered into record, I'd like to go on record as to why those items were placed there. The place that Ms. Laszlo Henry is talking about is used for a place of business. We do have proof of that, as courts were mandating sentences to people to be sentenced there. They're not getting sentenced there for free, so they're paying something. And now in our city ordinance 160-77 licensing required, it does state anybody within the city of Las Vegas that's doing business in the city of Las Vegas must have a business license. That place was opened without a business license. That's why that plat stuff was placed there. I want to make sure I go on record on that and let you know that that's why we did that. So she makes a compelling point for it being residential areas. Again, this isn't a residential area. This is being used for business. And then to give anybody, like they had the right to come up here and say why they don't want this ordinance to be done. It didn't give anybody a right in that neighborhood to say, I want this business here or I don't. So that's not, this ordinance is simply going to allow the community members to have their say. Because there is a lot of vocal people out there that don't want to come to the meetings, but they'll definitely show up if this type of business is going to be affecting their neighborhood. Now I'll digress a little bit there. In our housing in our R3s, R2s, R1s, there are allowed home occupations. But at the end of that, it does state that at the end of every business day, you must have everything about your business within the realms of your house. Nothing can be showing, so that means you can't have neon lights, you can't have car parts outside, you can't have things like that. So that's what this ordinance simply does. It gives the community a chance to have a voice, and it also puts the pressure on these businesses coming into town that they have to be forthcoming and come to us and say, we're here to do business on an upright fashion, not just pop up and say, here we are. And I just want to make sure I go and let you guys know that, Mayor and Council. And Mr. City Manager, with all respect, sir.
Thank you, and I just, and maybe you could answer this question. I know we've had a few community meetings. You did involve some individual members that, a separate meeting. I think we've had, I know last month that we tried to publish this, there was some errors. So there was, I guess, how many meetings, community and public would this, right now this is a public meeting. How many, 5, 6, 5?
We had a total of 2 town halls. So we
Two
had
town
a total
halls,
of 2 town
plus,
halls.
plus when it first came
Plus-
up,
plus
and
the
we tabled
hearings.
it.
Yeah.
And then 4 or 5?
I'd say about 4 or 5, Mayor. So we're on our 5th one now, I'd assume, right now. We've had some good conversations about this, and we get typically the same people here.
So with that, councilors, do you guys have any questions specifically? And I want to just make sure that, that legal has reviewed it. I know some comments were made that somebody legally, so I just want to give you the opportunity to say something.
Well, I didn't write down all the comments, Mr. Mayor, because I don't want to get into, maybe I should have wrote a brief prior to, but look, like I mentioned to you before, and Councilor Pacheco, I'll mention to you now, this is not perfect. Okay, we can't cover every little thing, and I can't define every word in this ordinance. If that were the case, I'd have 30 pages of definitions. We're gonna reference to other ordinances, that's throughout our whole ordinance body. You're gonna see references to nuisances, you're gonna see reference to old cars, you're gonna see reference to, I mean, we have to be able to reference that as a reference point, so you're gonna see that throughout it. I think there's a very clear process in the ordinance. This is how you apply, this is what's required. If it's turned in, you get it granted. I don't believe that's vague at all in this ordinance. It's very straightforward. We've done our best to comply with the Fair Housing Act. I believe we have. There's tons of case law out there, not just the 4 or 5 cases cited there. I believe we provide reasonable accommodations. I think we've even gone as far as making sure we're compliant with the American with Disabilities Act, right? So to sit here and tell you this is a perfect ordinance, I would be remiss. No attorney should tell you that. There may come a time in the future where we need to amend it. We need to change with the time. There may come a time there obviously may be a legal challenge from here. That may amend it. I can't tell you might not be the case. What I can tell you is that we've worked diligently, we've allowed community input, we've researched the issue as best we could, and came up with an ordinance that we felt encompasses what the city wants to do, protects the city of Las Vegas. Right now, you might have these types of businesses. We don't know how many people are living in these homes. We don't know what type of services are being offered. We don't know what type of individuals are in these homes right next to daycares. We don't know if they've had a fire inspection. We don't know. That's concerning to the city of Las Vegas. We want to make sure that we protect everybody. I think this does that. It starts that conversation. It starts it. And if we need to amend it, that can be amended, 100%. Again, I'm not going to say until it's perfect. It's probably not perfect. I was a little disheartened to say that an attorney should look at that because the attorney drafted it. But, it's a start. And I think it covers our bases for now. And it may change in the future. It may not. But we've done the best we could, working with Scott and Lucas, to put together something that we feel could be adopted today and proceed forward that way.
Thank you. Councilors?
Council, one more thing I do want to make sure I state. I tip my hat to Crossroads. They've come here and they've done some good things, and they're continuing to doing some good things, and I want to make sure that they continue doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm just, like our city attorney said, we have concerns that we want to make sure that are addressed. Fire being one of them, safety being the other. We want to make sure that everybody's in compliance. Crossroads has done a great job.
Thank you. Councilor Martinez, did you have something?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to point out that ordinance 2509 and all ordinance of the city are all working documents. And just like our city attorney mentioned, these documents could be changed, altered. They might even be challenged in some form or fashion. And because that working document is allowable, we're all people of our community and we want the best for our community. But we also have to listen to those individuals in residential areas that are impacted by those services, whether the services are being provided or not. So based that it is a working document, I know it cannot be perfect, and I'll agree to that, so. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and I think I had Councilor Casey. Did you have comments? Questions?
I have read this ordinance, I don't know how many times, and the only thing I can say for sure is that it gives me a headache or a stomach ache every time that I read it, because I understand what it wants to do, but when I read it and read it again and read it again, to me, I'm not really clear on what exactly. There's just so much in it that I'm not really sure what it's actually doing. And I get the main gist of it, but there are so many standards. There's, traffic impact stuff. There's, location, parking, overnight stays, all kinds of things into one big ordinance that has, 5 parts or something like that, 6 parts. So I think that, I think the majority of the information that's in there makes sense, but when it's all lumped together into one ordinance, that, I think, convolutes the whole package. Let me just put it that way. So, I don't know if, you have enforcement in 161, and then you have a penalty, and then you have another enforcement also, well, I think we got two of the same page in our packet. And so it needs to be clearer. And I don't know if we can, and this is for Mr. Ambrosio Castellano here, is can this be broken down into different parts? For example, you could do, residential zoning, one part of the ordinance separate from the commercial zoning districts, so that you don't read it all together and then it gets kind of convoluted when you're reading it.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Counselor, I believe that is the way it is broken down.
I know, but it's all together into one, the whole thing is called ordinance number 2509.
Correct.
So can it be divided up into 2509, 2510, 2511, so that each part is clearer as to what it's doing? I mean, I don't want to, I know that you've worked on this so many times, and we've had the same people coming to the same meetings and stating the same thing every time that they come, and we still have that same issue. So I don't know what's happening here.
Mayor, Council.
Marcus?
So it's an addition to our 450 zoning. So that's just the way the ordinance is going to be 2509, but all these other ones will continue on the 450-57, just as a continuation from our zoning ordinance. So 450-157, 158, all the way through will just be an addition. So we wouldn't have to put it to different ordinances.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think they're all different. They're all its own section. Each one will be its own section.
Okay, well, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Pacheco?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for those in attendance and your comments. I appreciate the information and the perspective. Thank you, Mr. Marquez and staff, Mr. Castellano, for your feedback. I'll say this. I've been at a city council meeting. I was at a city council meeting last year. Not as a city councilor, just here. And I wasn't here for this reason, but it just happened that this was on the agenda. And I'll have to be honest, at that time, I was considering a run for city council. And I said, man, this is a tough nut to crack. I hope the resolution happens before I get elected. But that's not the case. Here I am.
Welcome, Councilman.
So I will say this, that from my perspective, as a governing body, as a municipality, we've been inactive in attempting to improve these services, right? So no decision is a decision. And there's been no decision made on this matter for a number of years. Now, I support wholeheartedly rehabilitation centers, treatment centers, individuals with disabilities, but without regulation, we are not providing a compassionate and appropriate service in many cases. We are creating the most vulnerable in our society. We're allowing them to be even more vulnerable. That's part of my perspective on it. So I'm torn with all the testimony that I've heard today, but it's a challenging matter, but I look at what would be the best for all parties involved. And I would say that making sure that we improve and provide the best service to the least of our people, right, would be kind of what I'm gonna base my decision on. So, thank you all. And again, I'll say this, there's been a lot of feedback, I appreciate it all. I have an open mind, I love discussion. And I say this knowing that nothing we do, no action we take, no action I take is gonna be perfect. No document that I have before me, this isn't the first time, is perfect. There are growing pains with everything, but there are continued pains if we don't take a step to remedy the situation or improve the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. No comment? Counselor Casey, and then we'll, I know we're still in public hearing, then we'll go into the regular. Go ahead, Counselor.
Okay, just for my own edification, do we have a list of, like, the entities that have conditional use permits or a general commercial permit? Do we have any, do we have a list of treatment facilities? And so that we would have a better idea as to who is going to be affected, who isn't following the rules? How will this new language affect those that are already in operation and those that might be new facilities?
Mayor and Councilwoman, I'll go ahead and defer over to my city planner. But I do know that on one of the parts of the ordinance, it does state that existing businesses are okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in answer to your question about conditional use permits, we have a list that I could go out to two connexes and pull files. So we categorize, and we have that list always running that we have access to on our computers. So it will have file numbers, and I can go pull that file for a conditional use or a special use. So once those have been approved and we file the document into a folder, I'd have to do a sort and search to tell you how many, but we do have them listed. As I will give an example that we did have a conditional use permit that you had a hearing on that got approved. They did not move forward on it, so we sent them notice that since they did not act on their conditional use permit, it was now void, because they have to follow through. So it's not an open-ended situation. But if I may, I would like to say that what we're trying to do, it was mentioned that if we don't have a problem, don't solve it. But we want to be proactive, and we don't want to be reactive. And so we need to find solutions to problems that are going to come our way. We know they are because we know they have happened in other cities. And that's what's prompted a lot of this. And I think that we have to look at what we're talking about. We're not talking about 4 individuals renting a property in a neighborhood who have a disability of whatever it is. We're talking about properties that have a house manager or somebody who comes in and administers the drugs. We're talking about properties that we want to know what's going on there to protect the people in that house and the people outside that house. We need to know that they are licensed by the state and that they are following the guidelines. So there was an issue about parking. Well, I can tell you, Councilor Casey, in your district, we get a ton of calls about parking on the streets and people saying, my neighbors have 6 cars and they park in front of my house. When I have guests, nobody can come. So we need to know that if we're going to have this home, that there is adequate parking. So those are issues, and those are why things are in that ordinance, is because they have to be followed. I could go on and on with other things, because I know some of you know what I go through in my personal life with my son, but these are just, we have to be proactive, so.
Mayor, Council, you know, at the end of the day, the city does have a due diligence to make sure that we're bringing in reputable businesses into the community. And we want to make sure that that's happening. But at the very least, we got to make sure that we afford the right to the citizens to make sure that they have a chance to say, I'm okay with this business being here. Not just with this business, but any business in particular. I mean, if we're going to open up a new restaurant, a new bar, we do the same thing. We go with the 100-foot radius and we ask them the same
If we
question.
could keep the comments in the audience, just so we make sure that we get the testimony here from the city.
We go through the same issue with any regular business to make sure that it's going to be suited within the neighborhood it's trying to develop. Again, we're simply trying to make sure that we're getting businesses in here to get their business license and do it correctly. We don't want to water down our zoning ordinances.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Oh, sir, there you talked.
So at this time, entertain a motion to return to the regular session.
Mr.
Motion
Mayor?
to return
Yeah, go on.
to regular session.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by, we're closing, I have a motion by Councilman Pacheco.
Motion
And a
to
second.
return to regular session.
Councilman Martinez. Roll call.
Counselor Pacheco?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari? Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Pacheco, a second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Martinez.
I move to adopt ordinance 2509 to amend municipal code of the city of Las Vegas, chapter 450 thereof, entitled zoning, to add a new section entitled treatment facilities, halfway houses, community residential program facilities to provide for zoning regulations and exemptions.
I have a motion by Councilor Martinez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Olivari. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Pacheco?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez? Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
I'm going to vote yes under duress.
I have a motion by Counselor Martinez, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Mr. Mayor, moving back to our consent agenda. If I may read those items into the record.
Before we start, I just had one question. I know some public input was made on the consent agenda. And I know historically, usually with the consent agenda, we remove items from consent agenda before the agenda's approved. I did just a little bit quick research as we were moving forward here. 'Cause I know there was some questions. I just want to make sure if the council does, what's your opinion, Mr. Attorney, if, I know technically once you approve it, the consent agenda, it's one motion. But is it possible right now, since we're before that motion, can we remove an item from here and move it into business?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just briefly, normally standard practice is the agenda has already been approved. However, Robert's rules don't specifically prohibit a removal item from the consent agenda prior to hearing that first motion. And so you would be able to remove it. If the item you all are possibly removing was the comments about the contracts for the airport hangar, I can provide you all with a quick, I think Counselor Laszlo Henry might have left, but I did look up the statute she was talking about, so I do have a very brief and very straight to the point legal opinion on those three items, if those were the ones you were all considering removing prior to the motion, so.
And that was my concern, she
Okay.
made those comments, so if you have
And so if
something-
you want, if Mayor will give me the time
Go
to
ahead.
give you a quick brief legal opinion on that. Counselor Laszlo Henry, during public comment, was very correct in 152310 of the Administrative Code requiring board approval from DFA for leases. I will read you just briefly 1.5.23.10A. Board approval is required whenever certain public bodies wish to lease or sublease properties they own or are leasing if the term of the lease is for a period of more than 5 years, or the consideration of the lease term is more than $25,000. If we stop the analysis there, this item would not be able to be considered, right? However, if you go to the definitions of the same section, and that's actually 1.5.23.7, and I'll point you directly to 1.5.23.7G, as in George, the definition of public bodies means all political subdivisions, but not including municipalities, which is what the city of Las Vegas is. So, if we would have stopped at the definition provided by Councilor Henry, we would not have been able to proceed with these leases. However, the city of Las Vegas, being a municipality, home rule municipality, does not fall within the requirements under the Administrative Code 15237, and therefore the city would be able to proceed with consideration of the three leases.
So with that analysis or that opinion, what's the pleasure of the governing body?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 9, and that they be read into the record proper by our city clerk.
Motion by Councilor Casey. Have a second? Or do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Martinez. Discussion. Councilor Pacheco. And then after we have that, then I'll have you read it to the record.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as part of my discussion, I want to just clarify again that I agree some of these are just process, right? But there's documents before us that, quite frankly, I can't make a fully informed decision on. So I'm just going to put it out there for all the directors, because eventually I'm just going to vote the way that I think I should in terms of some of these. But if we're asking for an extension, well, I want to know on that extension, what was the original contract amount for? You're asking us to approve an extension of a contract that we have no knowledge of what the total contract was the year before. What was expended in that contract? Did we expend the full amount? Did we go over that amount? So I'm relying on my counselors that have been here in the past that may have some of that historical information. But moving forward, I am not going to consider anything that does not have all the full information. Because there's things in that packet right now that don't have that information.
Is that it, Councilor?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
So, okay, discussion still?
Yeah, please, yeah, for discussion. A couple of parts to this consent agenda would be that I did request from our finance director, Morris Madrid, to get some kind of background on expenditures for some of those contracts. In other words, I think we've got BTU, Hacienda, and Pat Romero Feeds, along with, I think, Hayes Plumbing, and I think those are provided to you a little prior. And if you could, Morris, if you could speak to some of this information that we have in front of us, so that we can better have clarification on where the dollars go, I guess I should say it like that. And I would prefer that it come from finance, you know.
Counselor, I do have some numbers for you in regard to the businesses BTU, Hacienda, and Pat Romero Supply. In the prior year, ending June 30th of 2025, total dollars spent by the city, all departments, at BTU was $40,669. At Hacienda was $19,078. At Pat Romero's, $37,279. Year-to-date, in the current fiscal year, we've spent $15,141 at BTU, $6,731 at Hacienda, and $18,843 at Pat Romero's. Those are the numbers for those three businesses.
So these numbers are driven basically by availability, I would suppose, maybe convenience. I guess that's what it would be, right?
Well, there's so many different departments, and there is a lot of variables. Some businesses have more plumbing supplies than others. Some have more stock in lumber. For example, BTU and Pat Romero are not open on Sundays if we have an emergency. Hacienda is. So there's a lot of variables that each director has to deal with. I really can't tell you what they are. I can just tell you what we process.
Okay, were you done?
I'm done with that question. I do have one other question, Mayor, and it goes to the three items that were mentioned for the rental space. And I guess one of the factors that I look at, moving forward as we're gonna continue to create infrastructure in those areas, if we were to incorporate just a flat rate, which we have basically already in place, that's fine. But if we do any improvements to those areas, like utilities, water, and other infrastructure that we can add to those areas, I'm thinking ahead, if we just keep it at a flat rate and we have a 20-year plan with these individuals, I'm just throwing that number out there, we're kind of probably we're shorting ourselves, the city of Las Vegas, if maybe that language should be put in there so that if we do have infrastructure in the area that requires the dollars to be higher because those services are more available for them. That's what I'm getting at.
Thank you. Councilor Pacheco.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Madrid, one of the questions that I have is that on addendum number 2 of contract 4068-24, which was originally awarded in 3/15 of 24, it's referencing an exhibit that we don't see. So in this new document that's going to be dated today's date, potentially, the last paragraph on that first sheet indicates that shall not exceed the amount in the original contract exhibit. That exhibit's not part of our packet. So I just am pointing that out because how do we make that, that's not the dollar amount. How do we make a fully informed decision without knowing what the contract was originally at? I'm assuming it's a large contract because I see the amount that was spent up to now is $613,546. But are we under contract there? Are we over contract? The contracted amount?
And I don't know if he has this one, so Councilor Pacheco before the meeting did ask, and I didn't know that Councilman Martinez had asked you also for, numbers as far as the three of them. I did ask for Hayes Plumbing, but I'm looking at the Hayes Plumbing contract, and there's one item assisted with snow removal, which I know that's not part of the contract, so I think the information they gave me wasn't specific to this contract for building materials. I think
That's correct, Mayor. Hayes Plumbing does business with the city in different ways. They used to be one of our major contractors for actual utility installation and even to include covering the infrastructure and paving and everything. I think they did the major project there on Bridge Street. So it is not limited to the type of supplies that this contract is attempting to address.
Well, their contract is different than all the other suppliers in here. And it's the only one that has an exhibit with the total contract amount, which isn't in the packet.
Right. I understand. That's a
Yeah.
good point, Counselor, but,
So if it's for the same services, why is it a different contract?
well, because in regard to Hayes Plumbing specifically, they were awarded work based on bids, based on requests for proposals. This number is a total of everything, not just supplies to be provided.
So is this contract that we're looking at right here, this proposed extension, which reads different than all the other extensions, and has a exhibit that has a budgeted amount, is this for supplies or is this for actual service?
I believe it's for supplies. I'm not intimately familiar with the
And
details. I'd
if
have to-
so, why does this one have a dollar amount total and the others don't?
I can't answer that, Counselor. I'd have to refer it.
I could probably add some information to that. I know they used Hayes Plumbing for purchasing like base course and backfill materials and that.
Just talk into the microphone, because YouTube.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the information that I have related to that question is, I know that other departments and ourselves, when we needed certain materials, whether it be gravel, base course, backfill material, whatever, we utilized Hayes Plumbing for those type of materials, for road materials on occasion as needed also.
No, and I appreciate that, but it is worded the same, building materials and related supplies, like if it is, like it does from Hacienda or BTU. So, Mr. Castellano, I do have a question of you. If these are all for the same products and the contracts differ, is there any potential ramifications to us as a governing body?
I mean, Mayor, Councilor Pacheco, ideally, we would want to have uniform contracts. I wasn't the one that drafted these ones. I don't believe I was, and maybe I was. But, you know, ideally, we want uniform contracts throughout. And there could be maybe certain provisions that the contractor wanted that was valid for them. Maybe they wanted some kind of clause, but I can't say for sure.
Thank you, sir.
And then I think kind of what's happened here, and maybe that's what you're going to say here, Travis. So a lot of these items, if I correct, were RFP'd, and that's why we're getting to these amendments annually. Is that
Correct.
Okay, that's
And-
my first part. And then just, I mean, and maybe I added some of this confusion by getting some of these numbers where, for instance, Hayes also does work at the water treatment plant, et cetera. So the numbers that, when I asked, I mean, I asked for this, for the numbers, you know, pertaining to the contract, but then when it was printed, it was like, that number isn't accurate, right? So I think they just gave us a complete, a complete breakdown of what we spent in the fiscal year and not specific to that one contract. I think, is that fair in saying, Mr. Madrid?
That's correct.
And so what I guess what I'm gathering here, and I understand where Mr. Pacheco's coming from, is as we go through these amendments or these addendums, and maybe it's gonna take us a while, you know, to get to the point to where he's comfortable, you know, on some of these, but I think as these are coming up, let's say a renewal of an RFP, an annual review, I think what you, I know in discussion, Counselor, is give us what we spent specific to that contract so he better understands how much it cost us the previous year. Is that fair in saying, Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that's fair. I think if we're gonna consider an extension, well, what did we spend on the contract the year before? The other thing I would say is fair is if the proposed extension is referencing exhibits, have the exhibits in the document, because none of these proposed extensions have the exhibits within the packet that they are referencing. So there, in my mind, it's an incomplete packet, because we don't have all the information.
And I think to add to that, I'll make sure, I know, you know, when we meet on the agenda, I think, you we go over some of that information and maybe take it for granted, like you said, some of us have been here for a while. So, Ms. Cassandra and Mr. Manager and Mr. Madrid, as we move forward, maybe we'll make sure that backup documentation, especially, here in the next, 6, 8 months till we catch up, till Mr. Pacheco finally, maybe goes through a 1-year renewal, a better understanding of what each contract, what we've done in the past, and kind of give him some more background history. So I think I'll make sure that, we do a better part as we go through the agenda, as that backup documentation is provided to everyone. And I know sometimes we've been here a long time too, and we kind of question, I don't remember that contract either. So I think it'll help. So we'll make sure that we provide more of that documentation and backup. And Mr. Manager, then if you wanted to.
Yeah, I just wanted to make this comment.
Okay.
We're continually making improvements to provide more information up front, not less information. And I just wanted to make a comment relative to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is set up not to pass things quickly and override any determinations or careful evaluation. So it's important that we provide a clear, concise summary with all the appropriate documentation and address those. And I would just add that if the council, I know there's already a motion on the floor on this particular item, but if the council chooses to move it to an item on future agendas and then move to table, we're not against in any way, shape, or form assuring there's clarity and clear information. And so I just want to say that. We appreciate the consent agenda where we've provided all the information necessary to advance contracts that are renewals, but that doesn't take anything away, Mayor, Councilman Pacheco, of making sure we have, and I mentioned at the last meeting, is I envision us not only having that summary and background information, but some additional FIR information for all agreements moving forward, so that it's not only clear for yourselves, most importantly as our governing board, but for the public as they review and read these packets. And so I take all these perspectives constructively, and we will continue to work to provide additional upfront information and clarity financially.
And I know you came to say a few words, but I don't know if you added, go ahead, Mr. Martinez, of kind of what I was
just gonna say, for these contracts, they're based on material rates. So if we're gonna give you guys the material rates, we're gonna give you guys their full book that they give to us for every single piece of equipment, piece of tool, lumber, everything that they're gonna give us at the rate. So I believe last time I gave it to Cassandra, we had a stack like that of everything that goes along with this. So it's just material rates that they give us. As far as Hayes Plumbing goes, those are special item needs. BTU and all them, they don't carry the gravel, they don't carry the base course, stuff like that Arnold needs. There's other times where water distribution, we need something on the fly to where it could be a yoke, it could be a piece of pipe, something that BTU and all them don't carry. So they sell them, we get them from them. That's something that these contracts are for, to help us instead of the 3-quote process. Our guys will be able to go to Hacienda, BTU, whatever they need, pick up what they get, and then move forward. But if you guys do want the rates, the building rates, we can get you guys the catalogs that they give us. It's gonna be a stack, but we can give those to you as far as that's what the RFP was for.
Councilman?
Just to clarify, Mr. Martinez, thank you. I'm not interested in the rates. What I'm interested in is when a contract says it has a total amount and it's an exhibit referenced in the document, that should be part of the packet as is part of the BTU contract, because that's what it states in that, the proposed extension. It's referencing the original contract and the exhibit in the original contract. We don't have that information.
Like I said, we can get that to you. It's their entire catalog, so.
It says it's an amount.
Mr. Mayor?
This says there's a dollar amount.
I just got a quick point of order, potentially. I think you're gonna need to call the question.
Okay.
And only because, generally, under the rules you all adopted, consent agenda, specific items are not, you cannot discuss them unless they're removed from the consent agenda because it's all made for one motion. I think the discussion was very robust, and I think everyone, but I think you probably need to call the question. That way, we're in line with what the council has adopted in terms of the consent agenda.
Thank you. And I was just allowing a little more just because of the situation. So with that, call of the question?
Mr. Mayor, shall I read those into the record?
Yes, please.
Item number 1, request approval of addendum number 2 to contract 406124 with Hacienda Home Center for building materials and related services. Item 2, request approval of addendum number 2 to contract 406224 with BTU Do It Best for building materials and related services. Item 3, request approval of addendum number 2 to contract 406324 with Pat Romero Feed and Supply Incorporated for building materials and related services. Item number 4, request approval of addendum number 2 to contract 406824 with Hayes Plumbing and Heating Incorporated for building materials and related services. Item number 5, request approval of resolution number 2609 to apply for and assuring matching funds in the amount of $169,829.46 for the 2027 fiscal year transportation project fund. Item number 6, request approval of resolution number 2610 to apply for and assuring matching funds in the amount of $227,106.18 for the 2027 fiscal year transportation project fund. Item number 7, request approval of amendment number 1 to contract 384422 for a 10-year extension with Rod Billingsley for airport hangar rental space. Item number 8, request approval of amendment number 1 to contract 389422 for a 5-year extension with Bill Brainerd for airport hangar rental space. And item number 9, request approval of amendment 1 to contract 385222 for a 5-year extension with Kerry Lane for airport hangar rental space.
Roll call.
Councilor Olivari?
Yes.
Councilor Martinez?
Yes.
Councilor Pacheco?
Abstain.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to our business items. Item number 2, conduct a public hearing and approval on a variance at 1402 10th Street, Las Vegas, New Mexico, 87701. We have our Community Development Director, Lucas Marcus. If we can go into a public hearing, please.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to enter a public hearing.
Motion to enter public hearing.
A motion by Councilman Pacheco. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Martinez. Roll call.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Martinez?
Yes.
Councilor Olivari? Councilor Pacheco?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Pacheco, a second by Councilor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. At this time, anyone speaking on this item, you'll please raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Under the penalties of perjury, do you swear to tell the truth during your testimony this evening?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Marcus, Mr. Alcon, welcome.
Mayor, Council,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I know Mr. Alcon, he's the owner of the property that in question. Just a little bit of history on the property. It is on the subdivision of the Harold's and Reynolds district addition. So it does fall underneath, prior to our ordinances, it was already a lot. So they're non-conforming lots in this area. It was prior to the 1970s, so the area does fall, the lots are a little bit smaller than what they usually are in any other typical lot. Mr. Alcon has purchased the property, and his intentions are to put a 14 by 60 mobile home on it. It is zoned for this, so we do have some issues that are going on. The front and back door will be facing south and north, and the sides of the trailer will be facing east and west. The front part of the trailer, of course, is gonna be facing Reynolds, and there's supposed to be a 15-foot setback. Again, with these lots being non-conforming, he's not gonna have the 15-foot variance, but he is buying the property is new to him, so he does have to come into compliance with our new ordinances. He did go through planning and zoning and Board of Adjustments for a variance, and it was unanimously recommended for approval for a 10-foot variance for the front and the back. But he makes up for it with a multitude of feet to the front and to the sides, which is the alley and 10th Street. But to the sides, he does have 5.5 feet to each side. So he is asking for 10-foot variance on each side. Then I'll stand for questions.
Councilors?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Martinez.
I guess one question that I would have is, we're not infringing or violating any historical district ordinances and so forth?
No, sir. As a matter of fact, with him doing this, he'll be coming into compliance with our new ordinances. Again, like I said, it was a block that was pre-existing our ordinances. So more than 50% of that block is non-compliance. Or non-conforming, I'm sorry, not compliance, but non-conforming. So he'd be just coming into the block just like anybody else.
Do the other question I guess I would have would be, do the neighboring properties have any issue with a mobile home being placed in that location?
Mayor and Council Martinez, no, there's actually already quite a few mobile homes in the area, and where Mr. Alcon will be, he'll be distant from his neighbor. That's just his property lines that we're concerned with.
Okay, thank you.
Councilors? Councilman Pacheco?
Thank you. The packet was well prepared. Thank you for the information. What's the long-term plan with the mobile home, Mr. Alcon?
With all due respect, first of all, thank you for allowing me to come here. This was my wife's project, and I am the one that is reaping the work on it. Initially, as you all know, most of you know, I'm a land surveyor, and we were hired to do some work on this specific lot, and my wife ended up purchasing it. The original purchaser did not want to do this. I believe the gentleman was from out of town, and we looked at it as something that, would be positive for the community. One thing we do know is, the housing in this area is limited. We do have a rental down the street off of 8th Street, and this would be something that I look at for individuals that would like to attend Highlands. We really like the location because everything's there. You have the banks, obviously the school, you have places to eat. So it's tailored more toward, and our vision is probably toward kids that are going to attend the school. And it's right there. Investment opportunity, and Kelly's all about helping the kids, and that was her first thought on this. So that's our goal as of right now.
Thank you, sir. No more questions.
All right. See no more questions. Motion to return to regular session.
Motion to approve to regular session.
Motion by Councilman Pacheco. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Martinez. Roll call.
Counselor Olivari? Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Pacheco?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Pacheco, a second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
That's the motion of the governing body.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the 10-foot front and rear yard variance for the premises at 1402 10th Street and to place a mobile home on the property.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
A motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilman Olivari. Roll call.
Counselor Pacheco?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate it.
It's a great
Thank you, Mr.
location
Alcon.
for what you want to do,
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
right next to the football field.
Kelly, you did all the work.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to our next item.
So as we proceed, I just want to make sure, I know it's going to take us a while to get back online, just to stay in compliance. We are recording this, the remainder of this meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just in case they were to be asked. Thank you. Oh, we're good? Oh, okay.
Moving on to business item number 3, request approval for out-of-state travel for Travis Martinez, Dominic Mares, Joshua Scoggin, and members of the governing body to attend the Plum Creek Water Purification Tour in Castle Rock, Colorado. We have a-
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate that Mr. Martinez put this item on, but this item originated from our visit that we had at the Castle Rock Plum Creek facility. Councilman Ulibarri, Councilman Martinez, Jimmy Sice, Mr. Martinez. I think it's a valuable asset to have the staff go. There was concurrence from all of us that were there that it's a good idea to have them go back and have a more in-depth review and training, if you will, of kind of what happens within the management of that particular site. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Martinez, but I stand in full support of this, and I would defer to Councilman Martinez and Councilman Ulibarri if they wanted to add anything, because they were there. But thank you, Mr. Martinez, for putting it on the agenda.
Martinez, Travis.
Mayor, council, this one is gonna be a little bit more in-depth than the last one that we went with. And the reason that it's gonna be more in-depth is because now us as the operators are gonna get in tune and see exactly how the equipment works and how it's gonna be modified and stuff like that for us. So as far as this goes, I stand for any questions.
I guess probably the only question I have is, well, these individuals, I know we don't have many operators and, besides these individuals, so how would the plant stay in operation?
We still have a level 4 up there.
So I guess will the contractor have the support in case something were to happen, I guess?
That's what we're working on.
Okay.
We'll have the plants up in operation as it still is.
Okay, that's the only thing I had. Councilors?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Ulibarri?
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. We did tour that plant out there and one of my councilmen, the directors, and it's amazing. The city has been talking about water for a lot of years. And we're getting to a point that we're almost there. And with Travis sending these people out there and looking at what they have and what we can do, it's a minus to us. So I'm thanking all of you guys for having these people go out there and take a look at what we need to change or do or what do we have to do. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. As mentioned, we did tour this facility, and I think what the perspective that it brings to operators that are considering going back and reassuring that and how this plant operates is important, because you can't grasp the entire thing by just taking a look at it from the outside. It's a huge facility, and it has so many different angles to it. But I kind of feel and have felt that by you attending this, Travis, was important so that we can find out what the new and most modern techniques are to restoring, cleaning, and having available drinking water for our community, quality water that we do need. And the operating portion of it is really important, because then you get kind of a hands-on look at some of the issues that they have. They're operators just like you guys are, and I think that's important. One thing I do wanna mention is that I think that this out-of-state travel it can include any other counselors that wanna attend. I believe, is that correct? Am I in saying that? Correct. So, I don't have no reason to go back to go visit the site. It was very good and informational for me and myself as a councilman, being able to see what's out there. But I would definitely encourage any others if they wish to go. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So with that being said, what's the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion to approve travel.
Motion by Councilor Pacheco, to have a second? Second by Councilman Martinez, roll call.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Pacheco?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Pacheco, a second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Moving on to our last item, request approval of resolution number 2611, a budget adjustment for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. We have our finance director, Mr. Morris Madrid.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. This resolution is to appropriate additional funds in different areas. I'll just read them off for the record. First one is an appropriation of funds from proceeds of a New Mexico Department of Tourism grant for litter control and beautification, the amount of $8,000. A capital appropriation from the State of New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration to plan, design, construct the Plaza Revitalization Project in the amount of $2,480,000. An appropriation of funds from proceeds of a Carnegie Corporation gift for the benefit of the Carnegie Library and community in the amount of $10,000. This is, I think, on their 100th or 150th anniversary. The next one is an increase in lodgers tax fund for additional initiatives in publication, advertising, and special events in the amount of $454,000. The way that the budget for the lodgers tax fund was formulated for the current year was the budget was formulated knowing the events July through December, not knowing the events from January through June, with the understanding that there would be this adjustment in the middle of the year. Additionally, this does not include any consideration that may come about for infrastructure improvements, particularly in coordination with that Plaza Revitalization Project. So you may see us come back with another budget adjustment for this. The last one is an appropriation of funds from the proceeds of a Federal Aviation Administration Airport Improvement Program grant for the installation of a high game fence at the Las Vegas Municipal Airport in the amount of $1,060,699. Some of these will be familiar to you because you've accepted them as a governing body. They are before you tonight because your approval is required for us to appropriate the money and submit to Department of Finance Administration.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 2611, budget adjustment for the 25-26 fiscal year.
A motion by Councilor Casey. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Olivari. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Pacheco?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
And Mr. Madrid, I just want to note, I know we've discussed it, when we have our work group for the agendas, as some of these grant agreements come in, and I know you and the manager are working with the directors, but that we take care of the grant agreement and the bars right away instead of bringing them separately. Is that fair in saying, Mr. Manager?
That is our goal.
Okay.
In a couple of cases, while we had the grant agreements in place, we didn't have the budgets defined. In other cases, for example, this donation from the Carnegie Corporation, that came out of the blue and is completely unrestricted. So yes, that is absolutely our goal in the future and in the past too, to present the acceptance of money and appropriate at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, a motion to adjourn. A motion by Councilor Casey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Pacheco. Meeting's adjourned.
You sounded very eager with that one.